Good morning, passengers. This is your captain speaking. Thank you for flying Dubtalk Airlines. Our flight today should last a little under 3 hours and will take us by some absolutely fantastic views of airships. I'll point out some as we pass, and we may even have an opportunity to see the famed Sylvana in person, so be sure to keep an eye out for that. Before we take off, I just wanted to go over a few rules and regulations we at Dubtalk Airlines would like you to follow. The dubtalkpodcast may contain language and content that may not be suitable for younger audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Also, please be aware that there will be spoilers for LAST EXILE, so if you haven't watched it, you've been warned. Finally, the opinions expressed belong to those of the individual participants and do not reflect the Dubtalk podcast as a whole. Now please buckle your seatbelts and put your chairs in a comfortable upright position as we prepare for takeoff. Enjoy your flight, and thank you for flying Dubtalk Airlines.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Dubtalk Classics, a show where a bunch of nerds get together and talk about an important dub of their lives from yesteryear. Today, we have a really special episode for you. Quite frankly, because I've had this one in some stage of production for over 2 years now. Tonight, I have with me Megan.
Hi, everybody! By the way, I learned this chant. It says something, bullets will not pass through my body.
Oh, yeah. Maybe that mantra will come in handy later. We have Amon.
Do you like airships? Then do we have a show for you. Also, do you like airships look like classic automobiles? Because we also really have a show for you. Let me tell you.
Oh my god, holy shit, we do.
This a steampunk's wet dream just made into an anime.
Have you ever wanted to fly around in the Eliminator car?
And last but not least, as you have heard, we have Noah Clue.
Aloha, gang. Are you ready to talk about that one Gonzo show with all the CGI? No, not that one. No, not that one either. No, not that. Yes, that's the one. That's the right one. Because we are.
Oh yeah. I am, of course, Roots of Justice, and tonight's episode is on Last Exile.
Woohoo! Which is ironic because this actually wasn't the Last Exile. There was another one that came after it.
Yeah,
Shut up, Noah.
And if it was Final Fantasy,
and maybe
why was
at
there
some
a sequel?
point we will talk about that one too, because that one's fascinating as well from a dub perspective. In any case, this dub, for the purpose of Dubtalk Classics episodes, usually the dub in question has a very important place in the heart of the host. In this case, I had watched a little bit of Last Exile during its original broadcast run on G4 Tech TV. Remember that?
I do.
If you do, you are eligible for an AARP rewards card.
I'm 12, and what is this?
So there used to be a premium cable channel. It was about technology. It was very nice. And then it got bought up by some useless gaming channel who just filled it with Cops reruns. It was very unfortunate.
And apparently it's now called Esquire. Actually, no, it's not called Esquire anymore. The network is dead.
Sounds about right.
Now, back in the days of G4 Tech TV, Last Exile was among a lot of shows that I hold very near and dear to my heart that ended up airing on the network through a sort of Adult Swim ripoff that they referred to as Anime Unleashed. And it had the most early 2000s commercials you could imagine. Stuff that aired on that block was stuff like Cromartie High School.
He ate my pencil!
He ate my pencil!
Pencil!
That's not normal.
God, we need to do an episode on Cromartie High.
But there was also, like, really weird and obscure stuff that ended up being really up my wheelhouse, like Better Man, Gadgard, Crest of the Stars.
What a great slot that was, man.
I know, and it just disappeared, and it was a shame. I'm going to assume it was basically the end of Genion that basically killed the block in ADV.
I'm assuming it's... Well, I think actually, as far as I can tell, Tech TV got bought by G4 because they wanted, like, one of their shows, and then just slowly dismantled all their other programming in the process. There was actually, like, a big scandal. There was actually a big scandal. It was based, I think, in San Francisco, and they made everyone move to LA when the channel got bought, and then they, like, almost fired basically everybody from it within, like, 6 months.
Yeah, that'd do it. Actually, that also jives with stuff like Leo Laporte leaving and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, boy, I am segueing so much in these first 5 minutes of this episode. You guys probably want to know what the show is about.
Maybe.
And I just so happen to have a plot description courtesy of Anime News Network. In a world that looks like the 19th century with anti-gravity devices, Klaus and Lavi are pilot and co-pilot of a van ship and act as couriers. They become involved with a mysterious mission after rescuing a little girl from a strange star-shaped killing machine. Not willing to let the girl die, they complete the mission by delivering her to the legendary mercenary ship Sylvana, only to become part of the crew as fighter pilots. Also, that was a very horrible Don LaFontaine, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I'm sorry, honey.
You gave it your best, though.
Alright, you know what? Actually, I'm gonna redo that, because...
No, you're keeping that. There are no second takes in vanship flying.
There are no second lives.
There are no second lives in Last Exile, not unless you're a member of the guild and Delfina's resurrected you.
And honestly, working under Delfina, is that really living?
Touché.
But yeah, airships and steampunk.
And politics and oppression of the minority class and, wearing funny outfits on a ship and firing at the enemies. Just all sorts of fun stuff.
And ripping and getting around every copyright that you can think of.
For the record, you can sing the happy birthday song. It is not, that was a bogus bullshit law or whatever. You can sing it now.
No one knew that back when this was fucking made.
I wish I could go back in time.
I think the issue was the lyrics were copyrighted, not the music, but no one bothered enough to make that distinction.
I'm so glad, Amon, that you posted in the chat. This has one of my favorite TV tropes of all time. And you're right, there are a lot. I looked up that page on TV tropes. There are a lot of shows that made up their own birthday songs just to get around that rule.
It was very expensive to license Happy Birthday back in the day. No one wanted to do it.
No one had happy birthday money.
Oh, and not to mention, it also has gambling that leads to fistfights, that leads to Lavi off the ropes with the steel chair!
And chocobos. And chocobos. You can't forget the chocobo.
I'm gonna speak
for
the...
Oh my god!
For those who haven't played any Final Fantasy, which I'm sure is me and 2 other people listening to this, what is a chocobo?
It's a bird big enough that you can ride.
That looks it's like a horse chicken.
Think of a more gracefully designed ostrich.
That looks like a chicken. Also, Noah, I can explain a Final Fantasy song for you really quickly, if I can.
Okay.
My name is Cloud. I have a sword. I fight cactuars because I'm bored. I like to ride on chocobos. It's better than having afros. And when I go into an inn, 15 seconds, it's day again. And I will use a phoenix die, so when I die, I will not frown. My name is Cloud. My hair defies all gravity. And I can't drink too many potions or I might get cavities. If I can fuck them, then that's okay. Something anyway. And I will beat up that Sephiroth. Because he is not. David Lee Roth.
Megan, should I be
Oh my god, the early internet was a trap.
That was amazing, thank you. That deserves a round of applause.
I don't know know why I just, of all things, remembered 95% of that from memory.
It's so catchy. The rhymes are so good. You did a good job.
But you were saying, Amon?
Actually, I was gonna ask if I should imagine Justin Briner singing that, but clearly that's a lot older than that series, so never mind.
You should, next time I'm at a con, I'm gonna ask him to do it.
Submission for Weeby for their next cover. See, here's the great thing about working with these people, is that I learn everything about video games completely through osmosis. I've never played Animal Crossing, but I don't need to. I've never played Final Fantasy, but I don't need to. I have never played Persona, any of them, but it's okay, because these guys told me everything I need to know about it.
Alright, so to start us off with our review portion of this episode, let's start off with the ADR staff. And honestly, since both of these people do both roles simultaneously, this section is actually kind of easy to go off with. Doing both direction and script writing are Eric P. Sherman and Kristy Reed. Now, in terms of direction from the both of them, you would know Eric Sherman's work from stuff like the Media Blasters dub of Rurouni Kenshin, and you would know Kristy Reed's work from things like Durarara. In fact, one of the only instances I could find via ANN where they both kind of did both on the same project was The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. So, probably should have picked an order before we started this episode, but who would like to go first?
I sung an entire song, so not me.
Noah.
Okay. So, this is, a fun time to go back to, because when I first got into anime back in the late 2000s, it's actually a name we don't have a name for the decade yet. I know some people call it the aughts. Some people just call it the 2000s. I don't know what we're calling it yet. But when I started getting...
I think it's called the naughties. That's what the British call it.
I could see that catching on. Well, here in history books, like, you know, you're an anthropologist, Megan. You know that people like refer to decades in the future.
I have a humanities degree, thank you. I don't go into the dirt. Bitch, I don't get dirty.
You could if you
Noah, I couldn't tell you. Noah, I could not tell you what dirt tasted like. I haven't seen the sun in days.
I'm just saying that...
Don't forget, Noah Clue, she also called Akira Fudo a twunk.
That's what I'm saying. But the question is, are terms like twunk and naughties going to be embraced in our professional history books into the future? That's what we need to determine.
Twunk? Listen here, if himbo can become a culturally phenomenal phrase, so can twunk.
I fully anticipate my grandchildren coming home with history books that have himbo, and they don't snicker at it. It's just part of the lexicon. This has nothing to do with the show we're talking about, but it's very important we have these discussions now.
Nobody in the show is a himbo.
No, they're
Nobody in Last Exile is a himbo.
No, this is a very... I mean, I don't know what...
no, Alexander Rowe is most definitely a himbo.
Alexander Rowe is not a himbo.
No.
He's not stupid enough.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. He's
Alexander Rowe looks at Gallo from Promare and goes, "Okay, you're too stupid to get on the ship."
He would too.
Technically, I'm gonna bite my tongue because I don't know who hasn't seen Promare in this room. So
I haven't seen it yet.
Exactly. Anyway, go ahead.
How did we get on this topic?
We're talking about
Noah, please go.
Cultural significance, just like this show. The reason I bring up the decade I was watching it is because a lot of the shows that I watched when I first got into anime were from the time period that this show was dubbed. This show came out in 2003. This was a spring 2003 to fall 2003 show, because it's a 2-core show. And so it was dubbed like a year or so later, and actually was picked up pretty quickly for licensing by Genion. So the voice acting and the writing on this was in that level where we were getting much more serious about our dubbing. There's no 4-kidsifying on this, which is good because the content, with lots of death, lots of matters of gray morality, and trying to basically fill the shoes of your dead parents is content that wouldn't do itself well for a comedy dub. So when I say that Eric and Kristy play this dead straight, I really mean it. There are only a couple of lines here or there that are played up for laughs, and they were in the original script. So adaptation-wise, it's very clean, very professional, the kind of stuff that I can easily understand why it got on television. It was, what channel did you say that was on? Because I didn't recognize it when you mentioned it.
Tech TV.
Tech. That's
it was a premium cable channel that was mostly like tech advice. It was very nerdy in retrospect. I'm kind of surprised it got off the ground at all.
That does sound. I mean, as a premium channel, I can see that makes sense. I can't imagine it surviving as like one of the big three.
Basic cable.
Basic cable. But I was poor, so I did not have any premium channels, so I would not have seen it. So yeah, I can see why this got television broadcasting. And as far as actually understanding it, it's pretty. It's as close to the Japanese in understanding it. I actually watched a couple episodes in the English dub with the subtitles playing on it because the lines were just going by so quickly, not because of the dub, but because the scenes themselves were just going by so quickly that I didn't catch some of the terminology. Like, Emelman was one of them. Dio refers to Klaus as Emelman at one point, and I needed to know what the spelling for that was because I wanted to look up what does that mean. And there's a couple other chess references to them. I'm like, what does that even mean? So as far as the actual... Fun fact for most people out there, you have most likely performed an Emelman at one point in your life. Yes, you probably have. Is it okay?
I will explain when I talk about it. I will explain when I talk.
Okay, I'll let you do that. I won't spoil that. But the one thing I do want to point out too, like as just a microcosm of how faithful the dub is in adapting stuff. There's one character who goes from the military to a very prominent political position, and we'll talk about her when we get to her. And the exact term that they use to describe her transition is, now the pawn becomes a queen. And that was like bag of hammer subtle, so easy to understand. It almost felt like we were being punked. So yeah, I like the dub on this.
Yeah, that you do know that actually is a move in chess and some rules.
It is,
right?
You're right, because what happens is your pawn, once it gets to the opponent's side, their final row, you can have that pawn become any piece that you want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I've played chess. Haven't played shogi, though.
Yes,
shogi. Yes, thank you, Megan. Thank you for...
I'm not gonna lie that if Dio was ever exposed to that song, he would never shut the fuck up about it. Luciola! Nyan, 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 shogi! Like, he would be chasing Klaus around the fucking Sylvanas, screaming that at him.
So yeah, that's my thoughts on the dub.
I'll go next, since I'm already talking. So I never watched this until, like, now, and I've owned the show for, like, 4 years. I never watched this growing up. I never saw it before now. Like, I've been meaning to watch it because that was how I was flirting with Roots, was like, let's do an episode together, and years later, here we are, having been dating for 2 years. I really enjoyed the dub. I thought it made the show very easy to watch, but then again, in itself, Last Exile is a very dense show that is very approachable. I think that the writing made that abundantly clear. There's no lines that feel extraneous. There's nothing that feels like they were shoving a joke in for the sake of shoving a joke in. Like Noah says, this is definitely a dub that's coming off the back of Cowboy Bebop in a sense, because Bebop was still fairly new when this got recorded.
Yeah, this would have been only a couple years later.
Like, within... yeah. So, this was very much a transitional period away from your 4Kids, your Deke, your Nelvana dubs that would take serious subject matter, even if it was presented more in a kid-friendly light, such as Sailor Moon or Cardcaptor Sakura, because this is not a show for children at all. Like, this is not something I would subject, like a 10 or 11-year-old to, and I would probably not show a 13 or 14-year-old this show. I think it's a little too dry for their liking. I would send this, like, maybe 16 and up. But they treated this show as what it was. This was a very serious show that dealt with a lot of politics, that had death around every door, that was very serious. It does have its lighthearted moments, like Lavi literally almost beating a man over the head with a steel chair. But there are also just these very tender moments, like when Lavi has the dream about her parents and the day that her dad dies, and kind of the stuff that Dio goes through towards the last half of the series, the last quarter of the series, and especially the stuff with Delfina, who is just a piece of shit. And I think all the acting is really well done. The only issue I genuinely had with the dub is double casting.
That's true. There are a couple of those in there.
There's one really, really big, obvious one.
Mm-hmm.
And I do understand that this is a product of its time. This is a dub that is, well, around 15 years old at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand if the actor pool isn't what it was.
Yeah.
But it is very obvious when those two characters, not only one, interact with each other, two, they're in a very small confined space, and three, said actress has a bit of a distinct tone to her voice, so you can very easily tell who's the double cast in that situation.
Mm-hmm. Especially when they're playing.
I thought.
I'm sorry. Well, especially when they're playing next to each other.
Yeah, they're playing next to each other and playing two very opposite type personality characters.
Yep.
I will say the one thing I do appreciate about this dub being about 15 years old is there's a lot of actors that we don't get to talk about a lot in this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really cool to get to talk about that. And before I pass this on to probably Amon, I made a point that you have all probably done an emo min in your lifetime. How many people here like to ride roller coasters?
I do.
I do.
Yay.
I have a story about you on a roller coaster recently.
Yes, you do.
Basically, you've probably done what's called an emo min loop. It's where you come down, you do kind of a half loop, and then you roll out of it. It's on a lot of roller coasters. You've probably done one before if you ride roller coasters, so...
A spin and a twist.
It's very funny to hear. Yeah, it's very funny to hear Dio yell, emo min, and I'm like, I do that when I go to Busch Gardens! To which, I guess I'll tell the roller coaster story at the end of the episode, because it is really funny.
Yeah. No, it's great, I promise.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be worth getting to the end of the episode for, so stay tuned.
Should I go?
Yes.
Alright. What to say? So like as I mentioned earlier, I did watch this when it was originally airing. Or roughly, I guess. Like, I read online, apparently they show the first 13 episodes and kind of repeats for a while, and then did the second half of the show, which may explain why I never saw the second half for a long time. And to speak to Megan's point, I think I was about 14, 15 when this started airing, and I did enjoy it, but I definitely don't think I understood it that well. It was mostly just looked cool, and had guns, and ships that looked like cars. And hey, I got to stay up late and watch anime. I'd watch whatever was on, frankly.
Hey man, when I was that age, I think I stayed up late one time, and that's how I got exposed to the Happiness Bunny.
Well, it looks like, look, you're up late, and it's like, hey, dual parallel adventures? Great, I'll watch this. It's some weird Tenchi Muyo knockoff with robots. Whatever. Not that I knew that at the time. I had no shit. Having said that, consequently, this is not among like the first anime I've ever seen, but I watched it on TV back when often whatever was on TV was the easiest way I had to watch any anime. And so this one stuck with me for a long time. I remember enjoying this dub a lot at the time, and it was nice revisiting it because I think it's held up very well. Like you can very much tell, like I think as we were saying, like it's very much on like, okay, we can be faithful to the Japanese now. We can, like, this is a show that has a weight behind it, and we can treat it like that. This is something, serious, effectively. And I think that shines through. Like, I think the writing and direction is really well done. I think they give it the emotional heft they need. Also, in retrospect, this is a hell of a cast list.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
Like, it's like, just looking at this, it's like, Jesus Christ, they got all these people in one show? You're spoiled rotten in the early 2000s. Wow.
It's amazing because some of these actors would go on to be like, mainstays of the circuit. But at the time, I don't think they were no names, but they just they weren't being flown out to huge conventions like they are now, kind of fame.
And they weren't at least for the two leads of the show, maybe back then they weren't like now where they're iconic, and at least one of them is even doing Western cartoons and stuff. So
yeah.
I mean, you could argue for one of them just because of what they did pre-anime voice acting, but even then, that fandom wasn't as big as it got later on.
No, and if research for another episode we did recently was correct, I think this was for the other lead. This was very early in their career, so
definitely
they were absolutely not a name yet,
right?
Certainly not in the way they are now. It was really fun revisiting this dub. I think it holds up really well. And I agree with Megan. I think the show is very watchable for as often dense and complicated as it can be, and I think the dub facilitates that really well. This feels like a very easy watch. This feels like the kind of show if I wanted to try and if for some godforsaken reason I wanted to get my borderline senior citizen age dad into anime, this is the kind of show I would show him. It's Dad, you have 8 billion books on the Civil War. You'd enjoy this.
I would totally get my dad personally is not really ever gonna try anime, but my godfather, who is super into that type of shit, oh god, what the hell I don't know what the hell he's into nowadays, but from what my dad told me when they were younger, they used, because both my parents grew up in New York and around the city, he and my goddad would go to the New York the Natural History Museum where the observatory is, the really nice one, and they'd apparently go and watch Planet of the Apes in there.
Yeah, he definitely enjoyed this then.
Yeah, he'd enjoy the fucking shit out of this, man.
I'm just imagining the Civil War, American Civil War now, but we had airships instead. I want to see that alternative future, that alternative past.
I'm pretty sure Harry Turtledov's written that novel, so you probably can at least read it.
Anyways.
I'm done, by the way. This is a good dub. I like it a lot.
Okay. So I guess one of the things that I particularly really liked about the dub, not just when I had first seen a couple of episodes way back in the day when it was airing, and then many years later when I was kind of watching this with a couple of friends after D&D games, and a buddy of mine lent me his copy, and then I finally saved up enough money to get my own copy. It is for a show set primarily in such tight quarters as, the deck of the Sylvana would be. Every character felt alive. I know my two most important words when I talk about direction and script writing are snap and banter. It is how well characters basically bullshit back and forth between one another, and then how snappy that delivery comes, how quickly they're able to come back around, get their next line, their next retort in. And this is great in that regard. Every member of the Sylvanas crew has a personality to them, even if they don't have a name attached to them. Even the sort of faceless characters played by wall actors feel like they have some personality to them. And I think that is a testament to early Bang Zoom dubs and just the attention to detail that they had back then. And even now. I do agree with Megan that the one major instance of double casting that we will actually be covering over the course of this episode made things a bit odd. But at the same time, the deliveries all worked. So it's not really as much of a complaint. Actually, yeah, I think that's just about all I had in terms of direction. Script writing, it felt incredibly loyal to the original Japanese, but at the same time, it had a little bit of room to breathe, which, given 2000s anime dubs, that feels like a bit of a luxury that I'm glad this got. So, really great direction and script writing and sort of giving personality to the auxiliary characters.
For real.
Speaking of characters, our first batch are the members of the Sylvana crew. These are not the officers. They are more the engineers, the pilots, the crew. We have Tatianna Wiesla, a daughter of a noble family who goes to flight academy, excels in every sort of way, but feels unfulfilled in her life. It is when she more or less defects from her country of Anatare and joins the crew of the Sylvana that she ends up finding some semblance of the excitement she was looking for in her life. And we also have her loyal navigator, Alistair Agru, who has been loyal to Tatianna most of her life, and two of them in the very beginning of the series are more or less inseparable before Klaus and Lavi join the crew, and they both sort of go their separate ways for a little bit. We also have Godwin, the head engineer of the Sylvana's flight crew.
Godwin. Not that Godwin.
Like, he basically...
Is Godwin the really big guy that cries all the time?
Yes.
That guy. That fucker.
Like, he's not afraid to browbeat his crew, but at the same time, he's a bit of a softie.
Oh, yeah.
And then we have Mullen Shetland.
Mullen Shetland, the Andrew of Last Exile.
Ooh.
Yeah, he is.
I'm not wrong.
Mullen Shetland was a soldier for Anatare who fought in many battles and won many awards of valor and dignity.
These medals on my chest signify every battle against Megan Smartmouth that I've gone up against. When I get one more, I'll finally be allowed to graduate to being respected as a human being.
I'm not that evil.
No. But he does have to earn it.
It's true. Like, as much as we in the show can dunk on Mullen Shetland, he does get some in the end. A lot of some in the end.
Yeah. Mullen Shetland, in the beginning of the series, let's be real, is a bit of a coward.
I mean, wouldn't you be?
I mean, if I was stuck in fighting what appears to be the aerial version of World War I trench combat, I'd be a fucking coward too. I don't want to die.
Fair. He appeared in the first arc as basically a foot soldier who helps Klaus and Lavi deliver a message to the head of the ship he is on, who we'll get to in our next section. But he's sort of knocked around ship crews from here and there until around the midpoint of the series, where he is trying to suck his way up to one of the very higher up officers of the Anatare Navy, but he screws up, and it is through this screw up that he basically starts an enormous fist fight in a casino, which leads to Lavi off the ropes with the steel chair. Where the hell did she get that, and where is the referee? But he ends up joining the Sylvana crew. He becomes an engineer, and he basically has romantic interest in every female character on the Sylvana.
Regardless of how old they are. Except for Al. Thank God they spare Al.
Well, I mean,
but he is sort of an older brother character to Al.
Arguably, Al is already taken.
By who? She's like 4!
No, I just mean like in the sense that she's already got enough people protecting over her that she doesn't need a romantic interest to begin with.
Because she's 4!
4!
Is she 4? I mean, I know she's
Yes!
young, but this is one of those weird shows.
No, she's like a fucking 4-year-old! Yeah, like, it's like canon that she's like 4 or 5 years old.
I mean,
I should point out the wiki says she's 11.
I was gonna say, I know that she's young, but
Still,
not that young.
She's 11!
When was the last time you met a 4-year-old?
My niece is like 4.
My nephew?
Is a 4-year-old going
he
to
was
pilot
4,
a van
like,
ship?
5 years ago.
Is a 4-year-old going to pilot a van ship while reading the instruction manual?
She wasn't piloting it, she was navigating it.
I said
That's true.
navigate.
She can read. That's a very precocious 4-year-old if she can read
I'm not-
well already.
She's like a fucking genetic super weapon!
I'm not saying-
She's literally the keys to the car! For all we know, they programmed it into her! Alright, Al, we need to make sure that you can drive the Honda!
Point taken.
Alright, Al, we gotta make sure we can code that you can drive the Stargate.
This has nothing.
Here, Al, here's the keys to the Honda Accord. Have fun.
I'm not taking you to McDonald's.
Anyway.
You can take yourself to McDonald's.
That's a fucking what the fuck is wrong with you story waiting to happen.
In our latest story today,
In any case,
11-year-old Tom piloting plane.
Local 11-year-old tries to Sky Donald's because parents wouldn't give her Big Mac.
This is the future we all deserved. Anyway, so
It's the future liberals want.
so who voices the
Anyway.
4 characters that we were supposed to be talking about?
Right. So Tatiana Wiesla is played by Michelle Ruff. Alistair Agru is played by Phyllis Sampler. Godwin Austin is played by Bo Billingsley. And Mullen Shetland is played by Dave Wittenberg. Alright, so Noah, why don't you begin?
Well, I'll talk about Godwin to start with, because although Godwin doesn't do much to progress the plot, he's very necessary in encompassing the heart of the repair crew upon the Sylvana, who are essential. Like, I like the fact that the show pays homage to not just the people in charge, not just the royalty ruining the world they live in, but also the, essentially the pit crew that make what they do possible. And Godwin's entire team is, like you were saying, Roots, is a good part of that snappy dialogue where the back and forth banter is entertaining enough on its own that they didn't need to be in a war show. Like, they could have had a Kevin Smith movie all to their own, and I would totally watch that. And Bo's voice is just very easy to tell. I watched Legend of Black Heaven not too long ago, and he's the lead in that, and his voice is instantly recognizable. It's the same in this one too, which is also good because the color palette in the show is a little muted, so it's not always easy to tell the difference between some of the characters if their designs are really similar. But as soon as I heard Godwin speaking, I could instantly tell who he was, because Bo's just got that gruff, played straight voice that is really easy to tell. So no complaints on his performance. As far as Dave's Mullen voice, he does a lot in the show, but because he's supposed to kind of be the everyman, he's got that mid-range tenor that's young but professional. Like, I have more to say about not his voice, but like the way he speaks, because he's clearly someone who's trying to climb the ranks in this world, trying to climb out of the normal poverty that he was born into through means of self-sacrifice and whatever else he can do. And Dave gives him a very believable professional voice, but it's someone who hasn't quite had the experience of a seasoned professional yet. Like, he's got a few years to go before he gets to commander level. So I think Dave was directed well on that regard. The more interesting ones in this group is obviously Tatianna and Alistair, because not only do they have the most character growth throughout the whole thing when it comes to they kind of go from the star team of the Sylvana as far as Vanguard pilots to Broken to reuniting back together near the end, but also their voices work off of each other really well. Michelle, yeah, I mean, you've heard her before as like, this is closer to her Fujiko Mine voice, you know, her more grown-up voice and not her moe voice. And oh, does she have an attitude? Oh, the sass that comes out of this girl. Especially when she's like telling Lavi how absolutely horrible it is that you redded out during one of your flights. You know, redding out is when you basically pass out from blood rushing to your head. Those are some fast G's. I'm not going to blame someone for redding out from that, but Tatiana won't take that shit. But when she's kind of brought down a peg after the incident that leads her and Klaus to crash together, she, her voice and her acting kind of lightens up a little bit. She's not as sassy anymore. She's a little more humble, but she still retains that dependable pilot voice that becomes a real asset to the group near the end of the show. And and accompanying her with it's pronounced Felici, right? Felici Sampler?
I think so.
I think, okay. I almost want to pronounce it Felici, but I think what you said, Roots, is right. I think it's Felici. I know her best, honestly, as and we're going to talk about Digimon quite a bit in the show. She's best known to me as Mimi from Digimon Adventure, and let's just say this is quite a bit different from Mimi. And I mean that in all the best ways, because she's got...
Hold the fuck up. What?
What?
Yeah, she is
Amon
me and
in
Cody.
She is the pink cowboy hatted, stuck-up snob of adventure, and she is the bland as toast boy in 02.
You shut your mouth. Cody's
I
great.
didn't say he wasn't. Bland can be fine. I like a bowl of oatmeal in the morning.
Cody's
with
doing
cinnamon
his
sugar
fucking
on it.
best.
I didn't say he wasn't. But he's not...
Cody is as dependable as a Roth IRA, Noah.
Oh,
Not in these days.
Dependable.
Not in these days, Roots.
just as fun too. Wow.
Roots is Cody, the 1998 Toyota Corolla of characters.
Yes.
Oh, I love. This is the
Yes.
This isn't the car
Shit.
you want. This is the car you deserve. This is the 1998
This
Toyota
isn't the-
Corolla.
This isn't the Cody that you want. This is the Cody that you deserve. Digimon Adventure 2.
God, you didn't
Anyway.
know that?
Holy shit.
You did not know that Felicia was Mimi and Cody? Wow.
All right, no, I'm gonna be straight with you. You vastly overestimate how many voice actors from Digimon I can name off the top of my head to begin with.
Fair enough. There's a bit of a big cast.
I watched that show when I was a child. No, I was not paying attention to things like voice acting credits at the time.
A fucking 1998 Toyota Corolla.
And if you put it, imagine this show where we have a flying 1998 Toyota Corolla.
The Sylvanas. It's not the airship you want, it's the airship you deserve.
I kind of feel like that's what they get. What
It's fucking Alex going to pick out the Sylvanas.
All right. I like I said, I don't have negative things to say about Felici's performance, but here the thing I want to give her credit for is that she's soft spoken in that she doesn't have as much dialogue as some of the other characters, and she doesn't snap back at others when things go wrong. And that's perfectly fitting for her character because she is the calming agent to Tatiana's, Spitfire, I'm the greatest in the world persona. So I like the fact that they balance each other out. And yes, to all you people who will make all the jokes, yes, they are probably in a not so heterosexual relationship with each other. But you know what? That is perfectly
They're
fine.
lesbians.
I wish I was a lesbian and not a hetero, and I didn't have to deal with all those men and all their come and goes. And all the rest of that song. I'm not going to sing the whole song, but these Felici and Michelle work off each other very well. No complaints on this one. This is to your point, Roots, about the side characters kind of fleshing out the world a little bit more. They do. They flesh out this very God, what's the word for it? Not a caste system, but like a political and economic caste system where you're kind of stuck in where you're born into unless you work really, really hard to work up above that. And these people seem to understand that very well and are trying to fight against that, which is the crux of basically what happens in the second half of the show.
Okay, cool. I'll go next. So let's start with Godwin. Frankly, I think some of my favorite dialogue was from Bo Billingsley and the rest of the guys that played the flight deck crew, who I can't name all of them.
No.
I don't know all the actors who played them, but they were all fucking fantastic. They were some of my favorite people in the show. And just Bo Billingsley, like... Okay, I'm gonna sound really weird. Bo Billingsley's Jet, right?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've met him before when I was a very young baby weeb, and he was very nice.
Aww.
But he's a lot of fun, and I just love in the last episode where they're staring at, the picture that Al draws them, and they're like, "Are you crying?" He goes, "Shut up, I'm not crying!" It's like, then what's that in your ear? It's just, I forgot the exact line. I think he tries to pull the liquid courage line. But they're all just busting his balls for it, and they're all kind of busting Tatiana's balls all the time. But they won't bust Sophia's, which is great. They're a lot of fun to listen to. I'm gonna do Tatiana and Alistair next, to which I am also in the camp of I basically know Felice Sampler as Mimi, and Mimi is a fucking departure from Alistair. Alistair is very soft-spoken, very kind of wistful and kind of distant. And I think my favorite delivery from her is when she's talking about how the stars have become unreliable.
Oh, yeah.
When she and Klaus are made to go together, and there's just this sense of she's got an air to her where she is very much the soft one compared to Tatiana's hard. And I like how the show, like how she kind of gets relegated to the side eventually, which kind of sucks, because I really genuinely did like Tatiana and Alistair's kind of... Tatiana's codependence on Alistair and Alistair's kind of codependence back on her, but I genuinely also like how Felice is very like, oh, I kind of like this Tatiana better, who's nicer to me and everybody else. Like, damn, Klaus, what the fuck did you do down in the desert? What happened when you guys saw dildos rain from the sky? And then Michelle as Tatiana. I'll have to bring this up a little bit later. This is the Michelle Ruff I think I'm a little bit more used to, because this is very much reminiscent of Rukia from Bleach for me. She's very kind of the hard, stubborn, and there's not a lot of softness to her voice, and for me, Tatiana's a really fascinating character where I feel that if this was a more modern day, more shonen type show, Tatiana would have been a male character 100%. Like, Tatiana is very, very much in the vein... She's very much in the vein of Bakugo. Where she kind of has, like, she's kind of like, everybody else sucks, I'm the only one who's good, I'm the top of my class. And then when she is faced with the reality that she is not infallible, and that she cannot carry everything by herself, and that she does truly probably need Alistair by her side, she flips the fuck out and breaks down. She just mentally is just like, fuck this shit, I'm out of here. Klaus, shut the fuck up, I'm not gonna help you, I'm leaving. I don't want to do this. And then Michelle gets that through very, very effectively. I think Michelle handles the tone of her voice well, her cadence. She's really, really good in this role. I would say that this I'll leave my final thoughts on Tatiana for a later segment, and then let's talk about Mullen.
Yeah, he's gonna hear
Kakashi Sensei. I know, and I dunk on him a lot. It doesn't stop me.
At least you're honest.
Kakashi Sensei Mullen is not. A lot of people know Dave Wittenberg for a lot of things. Kakashi Sensei and being the narrator on MXC Most Extreme Elimination Challenge. Oh no, was it Ninja Warrior or MXC that he did?
I don't know.
Shit.
I want to say it was Ninja Warrior.
Yeah, let me look it up.
Ninja Warrior.
I think it was Ninja Warrior. Shit.
Here, I'll check it out. Go ahead and keep talking while I'm looking this up.
Whatever, they were both on G4 at one point. Let's just go with this. And now I'm just imagining Mullen running through the battlefield with the sound of "Don't get eliminated!"
Yep, Ninja Warrior.
Turn to our on-field correspondent, Guy Ledouche.
Guy Ledouche stands at the beginning of the battlefield in an airship explaining what's going on.
That's a good point.
But no, Mullen...
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think Dave Wittenberg was a lot of fun as Mullen. He plays Mullen as very much the lovable loser of the group. The only issue I have, and this is just the issue with the show in general, is that this show makes Mullen Shetland seem like a 30-year-old man and not a 19-year-old. Which gets a little weird. Which gets a little weird because he hits on, like, Tatianna, Lavi, and another girl who he then marries and impregnates at least 3 times. Like, it's a little fucking weird. But Dave plays him really well. Dave makes him sound like a fucking loser. Mullen Shetland is the guy who gets read the 1998 Toyota Corolla meme at him. But he's genuinely a lot of fun as everyone's favorable, lovable, mechanic loser. But I also think that he has a lot of drama and heart when the show calls for it. Like, when he is talking to, Kate Higgins' character, who eventually becomes his wife. And he's explaining, like, his medals, and he's doing the, guild bullets will not pass through Mullen Shetland's body. And she's kind of like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, that's what I've chanted to get through all this. And then he starts saying, like, guild bullets won't pass through her body, and she does it back for him, and that's very sweet. Overall, a lot of solid secondary cast members.
Nice. Amon?
Yeah, where to start? Dave's great as Mullen. I kind of like Mullen because, yeah, if we're in that scenario, that's what I'd do too. Not the hitting on the women, but the just like, there's a high mortality rate in this job. I don't want to die. Can I get a job on a cushy ship where I won't die? That'd be nice.
He had the irresponsible Captain Tyler approach to living.
This is kind of what Captain Tyler would be like in a more grounded setting, isn't it?
It is, except, you know, he wouldn't land an actual job like Tyler got.
He would not be Captain Tyler is not a captain in a more grounded setting. he would be the meat shield who gets shot at. I like Dave's performance a lot. I think he does a good job. I think I agree with Megan. I think he does a good job making him sound like the kind of dorky loser that he is. But I think he has just a lot of nice moments. He portrays the character very well. His moments with his future wife girlfriend are very sweet. It's a good strong performance. What else? I also agree. I really liked Michelle and Felice's performance. Michelle does a really good job playing Tatianna. She nails that sort of aggressive stuck-upness really well. Like, you can tell that, like, Tatianna thinks she's hot shit, and for the most part, that's true. Maybe not quite as hot shit as she'd prefer to be, but, you know, she's good at it. I think she does a good job of presenting that while still letting Tatianna be, like, very likable. Like, she's still a character you can empathize with really well. When she has her big freak-out moment, like, you don't feel like, yeah, you had that coming. It's more like, oh shit, this is bad. I hope they get out of this okay, because I don't want to see these two get gacked halfway through the series. That's terrible. And surprising, very surprising. Felice, I think, is just a good counterbalance to that. She is a lot more quiet and reserved. It also feels a little more worldly in a weird way. She's very much like, look, I know he gave you his underwear to wear for a bit, but don't read too much into it. You're dating me, remember? Knock it off. It's a good performance. But I want to second Megan. The Flight Crew they're great. They are all wonderful. What a great group. And I have not heard Billingsley in anything in forever. And it was so nice to hear him in this again. I love Bo Billingsley. He is a great voice actor whose work I never get to enjoy enough of. And this was just a lot of fun. Just hearing him again, it's like, yeah, Bo Billingsley. Listen to that great Bo Billingsley voice. Listen to him ham it up, man. Why isn't he the lead in his own show?
He is. I gave it to you. He's the star of...
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, you mentioned that. Yes, but I haven't seen that yet because I've been busy. But I know I should watch it now. So yes, I will do that.
This is not a plug, but yes, you should.
Yeah, no, it's just wonderful, just great supporting characters. Like, the show has a lot of characters. I think we could have easily made the number of characters we're discussing like twice as long if we really wanted to for some reason. Like, the supporting cast is very strong, and I think this little representative sample is a good example of why. Like, just good, really strong performances all around.
Cool. All right, I'll start with Tatianna and Alistair. I think Michelle Ruff and Phil Sampler had a great chemistry together. They really gave off they're just really good friends vibe.
Oh yeah, just gal
Like
pals,
the
being
old
pals.
woman looking at the laptop screen. Like, and also sort of I really like their relationship dynamic when Klaus started to inadvertently trip and stumble over himself in between them, and it was like when Alistair started showing a jealous side. That was great. Like, their interactions are really good. Michelle's performance, particularly when she's realizing she kind of has the hots for Klaus, was also really great. Obviously, the scene where they are sort of stranded in the desert between Anatere and Disith, like, that was really great character dynamic stuff for her and also for Klaus, who we'll get to in a little bit. But yeah, those two were really good. I love Bo Billingsley as Godwin. He just has a really great dynamic to him with the rest of the flight crew. And I just love how he's just such a softie underneath, and you don't really see that much with characters Bo Billingsley gets to play, and it's really fun. And Dave Wittenberg's Mullen is just, he starts out as a scumbag, and then over the course of the show, you endear to him, and by the end, when he's married with like 3 kids, like, you can't help but be happy for him. And I think he did a really great job kind of growing with the character. Like, I really like the flight crew of the Sylvana. They're all just the best. All right, so moving on, we have sort of the nobles and the officers of various airships that you see throughout the course of the show. Alexander Rowe is the captain of the Sylvana. He looks like Captain Harlock, let's be real. Has a very similar personality, too. He's stoic, he is hell-bent on getting revenge on his biggest foe, the head of the notoriously murderous guild, and he has severed all ties with the nation of Anatere, where he was a decorated officer. He is a wanted fugitive, and just, yeah. His goal is to make his way into the Grand Stream in order to capture the MacGuffin of the show, Exile.
But is it a MacGuffin?
And,
really?
It's just the Honda Accord in the sky.
I don't know what I mean. It's like an alien geometrical spaceship of some kind with
It's a
tentacle
MacGuffin.
Oh, so it's a Kia.
What?
It's a Kia Sorrento.
How many Kia Sorrentos have you driven with tentacles?
None, because I value my life not to drive a Kia Sorrento.
There we go. Now, Sophia Forrester is his first officer. She also has kind of a big secret that's revealed in the second half of the show. She's secretly the daughter of the Emperor of Anatere, and she uses this to her advantage to stage a coup and become Empress, which allows her to make peace with the rival nation Disith and form an alliance to take on the guild. Vincent Alze is an officer with the Nature Navy. He has a really badass ship. Part of a new model series that is really powerful. It can take on the Sylvana on an even keel. Like, he's also just a badass in and of himself. And then we also have Duke David Mad Thane. He shows up at the very beginning of the series as sort of the commander of a van ship who is taking on the Dissith army. And he also shows up later as a part of the alliance between Anatere and Dissith to take on the guild. So Alexander Rowe is played by Crispin Freeman. Sophia Forrester is played by Julianne Taylor. Vincent Alze is played by Steve Bloom. And Duke David Mad Thane is played by the late, great Bob Pappenbrook. So Noah, why don't you start us off?
Sure thing. So, before I talk about these characters, I just want to point out the show has a bit of a fascination with royalty versus peasant-born, it seems like. And this is something that seems to creep into a whole lot of Gonzo shows from this time period. Like, Gonzo was really heavy on making shows that were, like, royalty versus the everyman. You see it in, like, Romeo x Juliet, Gankutsuo, Seven Samurai, Speed Grapher. I don't know what it was, but they were, like, really heavy on that idea about making shows about fighting the landed gentry.
Gonzo says eat the rich.
That's exactly what they were doing. In every
Studio Gonzo says eat the rich.
I mean, am I wrong, or was that like just a common trend in everything they made?
No, you're really not.
No, that's there's a lot of class stuff in Gonzo in this period.
Yeah, and the thing about this show, which I'm sorry if you mentioned this, I don't remember, but this is an original story. This is not based on a manga or a light novel of any kind. This is actually was created as the 10th anniversary celebration of Gonzo's existence. So this is a completely original story.
Yeah.
And so, like, any story beats in this can't be chalked up to an author that, didn't match with Gonzo's politics. This is like 100% their baby. So I'm glad that we're finally getting to talk about it. And talk about it we shall, because Alexander Rowe's performance would be, I feel, slightly less memorable if it wasn't for who portrayed him. Because although he is badass, and although, yes, he is based on the pinnacle of manliness, which is Captain Harlock, I don't feel like he does a whole lot in the show until near the end, because he's brooding a whole lot in it. But that is kind of washed away by the awesome voiceness of Crispin Freeman, because Crispin is just like he has a very good natural deep voice that is it can be evil or deliciously despicable in characters like Alucard when it needs to be, or it can be snarky like in Haruhi Suzumiya. But Alex Rowe is actually pretty close to Crispin's normal speaking voice. Like, if you've ever heard him in convention Q&As or behind-the-scenes stuff, this is pretty close to his normal speaking voice, but it's just with an extra layer of professional composure to him, because he's very clearly in charge of everything. And to that extent, I think this is very perfect casting on that part. I feel like even if you had another actor who was acting very well, sometimes that natural voice or even the affectation of a voice you give off just adds extra layers to a character that is just already pretty badass. So yeah, I have no qualms on Crispin's part there. I looked around for, like, is there anything really wrong with this? But the thing I guess I can point out too is that he breaks some of his professional composure at some points when he's when he basically admits that he abandoned the Grand Stream and did not die along with Lavi and Klaus's dads, because he was with them when they did. And, he's kind of running from that cowardship that he's trying to make up for that now. And I think we can agree that by the end of the show, he has kind of redeemed himself for that faux pas. And that is why he will be included in Captain Harlock Smash Fighter, coming soon to a video game near you.
Captain Harlock Ultimate.
Absolutely. Just 20 copies of Harlock fighting against each other.
Megan, was it you who suggested that at a con somewhere there should be a cosplay meetup with
Yes.
Captain Harlock knockoffs?
Yes. And I think it was Brainchild who said that it had to be led by the girl knockoff one. Who was...
Princess Emeralda?
Oh, Queen
Yes.
Queen Esmeralda.
Are you a knockoff if you're in the same universe and were made by the same person?
I don't know, but I want to just say yes so that we... She can just have a harem of Harlock knockoffs.
That's fair.
Because wouldn't you want a harem of...
A harem of
Wouldn't you want a Harlock knockoff?
Wow, that is a sentence.
That is a clip puffer for some girls if I've ever heard it.
Mm-hmm. So along with the copywriting birthday song sidestepping, we also did some copyright avoiding Harlock in here too. But that's okay, because any exposure to more Leiji Matsumoto is perfectly acceptable. Let's talk about Vincent for a second, because, again, this is a character that, in a show that is very Star Trek-y in the, like, we show a lot of characters speaking orders to each other, and sometimes it's kind of hard to follow along with some of the action. You need actors that can give off the affectation of powerful or in charge, and Steve Bloom does that pretty well. His conversation with Crispin before they go to kill each other is pretty awesome just to listen to. I mean, I'm not a fan of coffee, but I would totally drink Steve's warship coffee that he gives him. As far as being like close to his natural speaking voice, this performance as Vincent is like, it's got a light growl, but so does Steve. Like, Steve's normal speaking voice also has a light growl, so it's kind of pretty close to what Steve already sounds like. And yeah, there's no qualms on that one. He's just a good commanding presence that kind of encompasses the whole crew, which, like Megan said before, we don't really can't tell some of the crew members apart from each other, so we kind of lean on their commanding officers to be the face of their world. And that necessity to have strong personalities as the commanders of these ships definitely also extends to Bob Papenbrook's performance as well, because although it doesn't seem to do too much, and I thought, because he showed up very early on, like he was part of the first ship that we see Lavi and Klaus deliver a message to. I thought he was going to be more prevalent throughout the show, but like you said, he doesn't really show up until the final battle near the end. But because he does have that, Bob has that natural commanding presence to him that feels almost kind of worn down by the whole battle they've gone through. Like, his speech pattern is just very ragged, not ragged, but more aged than some of the other characters, especially some of the younger characters. It just lends that extra weight to this idea that this battle's been going on a while. This whole war, this senseless war, has been going on for years, and there doesn't seem to be an end to it. And we're kind of getting sick of it. And that's why I'm really glad that they do the thing they do near the end. So again, good job on Bob's performance of this, and he plays off very well that one officer on his ship who keeps complaining about, there's no chivalry in this. You can't just fire against the ship when it's not your turn. There's just no chivalry in that. I hated that guy. I hated whoever that guy was. And to top
As you should.
And to top it off, well, Sophia is really interesting, and Julianne Taylor had the potential to make her acting boring. She had the potential to do that, because Sophia is not the kind of person who is going to spaz out and give us a hammy performance, because she knows how to act composed and in charge, giving orders for someone else while also making the sacrifices to try to end the war on her own. Luckily, Julianne gives Sophia this kind of slight lilt of compassion. She's like mostly serious with a very clear diction. She's the kind of person who, yes, I would absolutely expect them to be CEO one day. When Vanguard ships eventually do get built, I imagine Julianne Taylor will be the CEO of creating that company. Although we get to see a very sophisticated side of her, when she essentially reveals, oh yeah, I'm a princess, and I can, make a pact with the other team, and we can basically do the, again, sorry, my history nerd brain is breaking apart, but I think it was Austria and France who married, it was Marie Antoinette.
The Habsburgs!
Thank you. Marie Antoinette and married the King of France to, create a unity amongst each other. It's that, basically. It's that going on in a fictional world.
Oh wait, no, the Habsburgs is something else.
No, that was Germany. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I'm fucking confused. I forget history.
It's alright, there's a lot of it.
There's a lot of marrying to stop countries from fighting each other. Which is why, in the future, you will see America's president and Mexico's president marry each other to stop the infighting.
And...
I swear the history books are going to look back and say, was he a prophet? No. But yeah, no complaints on Julian's parts. These all characters, again, are very commanding without being too dry. So I appreciate the direction and acting that they put into these roles.
Oh god, when you said the marrying into each other, the only thing I thought of in the back of my mind is the Habsburgs need to stop marrying into all each other's families. If you've ever seen the history of the entire world, I guess it's just the section on the Habsburg family. Mm-hmm. By the way, that entire video is a fucking phenomenal piece of media. Can I go on land? No. Why? The sun is a deadly laser. My other personal favorite. Who are the Tamil Kings? Traders, merchants, I guess.
I do love that video.
The Mahajapit. Ding! Alright, cool. So let's start with... I'm gonna start with Duke Mad Thane. I am super, super unfamiliar with Bob Pappenbrook's work, unfortunately, mostly because I haven't gotten to watch a lot of the shows that he did while he was still with us. Unfortunately, Bob has passed away. Rest in peace. But Mad Thane was the guy that... Was he the guy whose family they delivered the message to,
yes.
Right?
Yeah, with the awesome
white
daughter.
Mustache.
Yeah, who become a nurse and a maid later on.
The tree.
The olive tree. Mr. Olive Tree. Yeah, no, he was very regal, very good. I can't say much more about him. Steve Bloom. Fellas, is it gay to drink coffee in a cave with Steve Bloom?
I'm gonna file that one under, I'm not gay, but... Imagine that picture of you're blocking a door, it says, I'm not gay, and then the word but bursts through the door.
But... Just fellas... no, it's so weird to hear Steve Bloom. He's got that gruff on him, but he's not, like, ultra deep. He's more like the Spike End than, like, the Demon Slayer giant demon, drum demon, Steve. I really liked him a lot. He was very much he was the more lively compared to Crispin's Alex's just outright deadpan. Mm-hmm. He's a lot of fun. I thought it's a Steve Bloom performance. It's it's not bad. Like, it's hard to find a bad Steve Bloom performance, let's be real. And then Julianne Taylor as Sophia. Like Noah said, you could immediately made her a stick-in-the-mud boring, but she has the sense of regality. She has the sense of, I think, the unknown, because from what the show was implied, was Alex fucking her sister?
Yep.
Ooh.
There were a lot of details in this.
That's an interesting...
I don't know.
Like, I think the girl that was flying with Alex was either her sister or her pseudo-sister, because remember, Sophia, when she goes back to her side and goes to talk to her dad, there's that one minister who's talking about raising her as if he was her daughter after, I think, the loss of his. So I think it was applied, to which, by the way... The acting in that scene where she's locked up and that guy's talking to her through the hole in the wall, really well done.
According to the wiki, Alex's partner who dies, it's that dude's daughter.
Okay, so it is like her pseudo sister.
Right.
I also really like that Julianne played her with a sense of, like, kind of longing for Alex, where I feel like she also kind of had a crush on her. And now, oh my god, I'm realizing that she's fucking Taiga in Fate. Holy shit.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Yo, what the fuck? That's just... Yo!
Some of us have no context for that.
Okay, her character in Fate is literally a dumbass.
Ah, so the complete opposite of Sophia.
Yes! It's very hard to imagine that these two women are played by the same person. But Julianne has a sense of regality to her. I think also a deep sense of sorrow. I'd also like to point out that she gave Klaus his first boner. Because there's just a shot of her in her princess dress where her boobs are pushed up and the camera... That is like the one fan service shot of the show.
I asked my buddy
It's
if
just
there ain't
this
new
close.
girls in the city, and then I walked this girl with tig old bitties.
Nitties. Like, he just looks at him and he just goes red and looks up. And I think she also kisses him at one point.
Yeah.
Just Klaus the pussy magnet. But no, she does a great job. But let's talk about the real hero of the Sylphanis, Captain Not Harlock.
Too cool.
I'd like to point out, too cool for school. I'd like to point out at one point I just sent into my group chat, imagine being the chud who decided to try to duel Captain Harlock.
Oh, that was great.
Where this guy just throws a dueling glove at Alex's back, and Alex just kind of looks at him, it's like, if you want to do this,
end this man's career.
And then he did.
True. He ended this man's life.
Like,
Let's be honest.
and then he ended his
Fair.
dad's.
That does end his career. And I just want to point out that the ship itself that guy captained, get out your Bibles, people, was called the Goliath, which is an infamous it was an infamous name for a bully because of that story. And the ship was full of nothing but bullies, so just nice and subtle references.
Who tried to cheat? Who tried to fucking cheat? But man, Crispin is the cool cucumber of the cast. He is just very, very deadpan, very mellow, doesn't show a lot because his character doesn't show a lot unless he needs it. I also would like to point out he did a really good job of disguising his voice when he's younger. Because I think a lesser actor wouldn't have done that good of a job, because that's kind of a really big twist for the show, that Alex was that vanship pilot that was always coming to see them.
Yeah.
To which, I actually thought that Alex was Lavi's dad. I thought that just because of the way the other lady looked, I was like, was Lavi, like, adopted in all truth? And then that got squashed very quickly. But I'd also like to point out that even when Alex could be in unmeasurable pain, that Crispin doesn't, Crispin Freeman, otherwise known as Crispy Free Ham, didn't ham it up when Alex is literally, getting crucified by roses by Delfina, and Delfina's, like, torturing him, to which, boy howdy, that scene probably awakened a lot of things in young female viewers back in the day.
Oh boy.
He was great, and I'd also like to point out that Alex getting the kill on Delfina just was very satisfying.
I'm actually disagree with that, because it was satisfying to see her die, but she didn't die slower. It
was too quick.
Too quick. It was like it was the.
But no, the reason I liked it so much is that she had such an undignified death.
That was satisfying. Yeah.
I mean, Noah, think about this. Alexander Rowe snapped her neck.
He did.
With one hand.
He levitating her off the ground, just squished it. You know what he did? You know what character he embodied there? He pulled a Lad Russo on her ass. And the best thing about Lad is he loves to kill people who never see it coming.
They never see it coming! Neither does it Steph when Andrew comes on her. Anyway, Amon, I'm good. You go.
Alright, sure. Follow that one up. Where do I start? Bob Packerbrook is very good. I liked his performance. I liked his repartee with his lackey that Noah was mentioning. I don't have a lot to add, but I did want to. I decided to look him up on Wikipedia to remind myself of some of the other things I've seen of him, and I just wanted to share this. This is the second line from the opening paragraph of his Wikipedia article. He was discovered by filmmakers Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, which got him his very first voice acting role in the hit film Raiders of the Lost Ark, as screaming natives chasing Indiana Jones at the beginning of the film. So if you're wondering if you've heard Bob Packerbrook in something, you probably have already.
Yeah.
What a guy.
Not to
Also-
mention, he is like a rogues gallery of Power Rangers villains.
Yeah,
Oh, he's
that's...
fucking Rito Repulsa, man. Rito. The skeleton. I liked him.
okay.
Amon's favorite Power Ranger character.
I mean, in retrospect, it's like, yeah. Have an easy mark.
Is Rito... just a question. Is Roots the Goldar to your Rito Jr.? To your Rito?
I don't know, I feel like Roots is a little more competent than Goldar.
I love you, honey. I'm sorry.
Being compared to a Power Ranger character is never a bad thing.
That's a true fact. Bob's really good. He does good in his role. I also agree. Julianne Taylor I really liked her as Sophia. She does a very good job of playing the character as cool and muted in a way that makes sense, but she's not boring. I think her character arc is really interesting, given what she goes through in the show. I think Julie, does a good job of making her feel kind of regal, even before we find out that she is literally royalty. It's a really strong performance. I liked it a lot. Trying to think of anything. She's good repartee with everybody. I think just good, strong performance. Mm-hmm. At the top of the show, I was mentioning how this show has kind of an absurd cast in retrospect. And we talk about how there's just a whole ass scene that's just Stephen Bloom and Crispin Freeman just chatting with each other.
Yes, it's great.
If that happened in a show today, people would lose their goddamn minds. This is just like, just like 2004. Just yep. Two of the male voice actors of anime just having a chat over some tea.
I want to.
It was coffee.
I want to reference
coffee.
I want to reference Arcada's ancient review of Last Exile, where he referenced that scene as being as awesome as, and I quote, Boba Fett having dinner with Dracula.
Oh god, Alexander Rowe is just flying Dracula.
I mean,
Sounds about right.
Not wrong.
Alexander Rowe is just season 3 Alucard flying an airship. God, I'm so lonely.
And in turn, I think both of them are very good. Both of them give really strong performances. Steve Bloom. He's Steve Bloom. I don't know if there are bad Steve Bloom performances. I feel like he's a little too professional to turn something really lousy unless he's just given absolutely nothing to work with. And Vincent has a flaw. I think it's just that as a relatively minor character, he's given comparatively less to do than some of the mains. But I think he turns in a really strong performance. He's really good here. He's good, he's strong, he sounds like a captain. I like it a lot. And Crispin is Crispin. He's deep and brooding, and he gives the exact weight and gravitas you would want a Harlock adjacent character like this to have. Has Crispin ever played Harlock in any of the Harlock animes that have been dubbed? They should really.
No, I think that's just Dave Matranga.
Here's the thing: is that there just hasn't been for as much Harlock stuff as has been produced. I don't feel like a whole lot of it's been.
Little of it's been dubbed.
It's been dubbed, and so there's just hasn't. I mean, if they took on if Discotech took on the task of dubbing more of it, then maybe they'd bring him on. But it just hasn't happened yet.
No, Discotech has actually dubbed something else that has Harlock in it, and Harlock does technically have a canon English voice that's Dave Matranga.
No, you're right. I'm just saying, if they went back and dubbed any of the older shows or any of the OVAs,
it'd probably be Dave Matranga.
Yeah, okay, that's
true.
That's true. It's true.
But if they can't get Dave, I think as we've seen, Crispin would be a good alternative. He's great, and I think he sells the character so well. He just oozes this sort of badass confidence while also just coming off as just very tired about all of the shit that he's been through. God damn it. He's seen a lot, folks. He's not happy about it.
Yeah.
Tough times for Alexander Rowe. Right? He's got hard times, folks. He's got hard times right up until the end. But he goes out like a badass, so who cares?
He just literally chokes a bitch.
You're correct, he does. Crispin, he's just very solid. He gives just the exact kind of performance you want out of this character. I was really happy. This is one of the performances I'm really happy held up really well. Because when I saw this, I was definitely young enough that assuming I'd even encountered Crispin Freeman in something before, I would not have, like, recognized him off the top of my head. And I can remember it's like, oh, yeah. Yeah, this is the coolest character in the show. Yep. I mean, I was also 14, so of course I thought Alexander Rowe was the coolest character in the show. But, you know, beyond that.
Were you a hardcore, like, Hot Topic, Invader Zim, chugging, angsty teenager at your 14-year-old self?
Oh God, no! I was very happy and well-adjusted. But he had a coat. He had a big coat and a battleship, and that's really all you need.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, no, these are great. I love them. Fantastic.
All right. So in all honesty, I put Duke Mad Thane in here because what opportunities does the Dub Talk podcast get to talk about the wonderful Bob Pappenbrook?
I want to mention one of my favorite roles of his, Bob Pappenbrook's roles, that as he plays the principal of the school in Great Teacher Onizuka, but he doesn't credit himself as Bob Pappenbrook in that show. You want to know what his credited as in that show? John Smallberries.
Which I think is a Buckaroo Banzai reference, which just makes me love him even more.
To my understanding, yes.
Yeah, and I think that is also the name he is credited for in Last Exile, if I recall correctly.
I don't think so. I watched the credits. There's one character, and we'll get to her later, that has a different name than I'm used to, but other than that, I don't think they mostly used aliases in the show.
They might have initially, and then it changed. I don't know.
Maybe for the re-release, but anyways.
Right. Bob Pappenbrook was really... blah, 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 blah. Bob Pappenbrook was pretty great here. I loved his sort of regal, fatherly tone. He is basically one of the more competent generals of the Anatere Navy, and it shows here. Like, I basically knew Bob Pappenbrook from a bunch of the Power Ranger villains he has played in the past. Deviant, that was his name, from Lost Galaxy.
No, I thought Deviant was Zeo. Or no, that's Machine Empire, that's Mondo. Oh, fuck.
Yeah,
oh, God, I'm trying to remember who Deviant
is. He was the robot who stabs Trakina in the back and turns her into the insect monster.
Oh, right, duh, and I should know this because Lost Galaxy is one of my favorite seasons.
Where he's just like this snide, mustache-twirling villain, and I just love that. But here, he's just this gentle old man, and it's really pleasant to listen to. Let's see here. Who do I want to talk about next? Let's do Vincent and Steve Bloom. Because I think this might be the first episode I've been on where I get to talk about Steve Bloom in a show. And he's great. I forgot if it was Amon or Noah who mentioned it, but he does very much have a Spike Spiegel air to him throughout the show. And it's really pleasant to listen to, and he also gives the performance of a very confident naval officer. His men are fiercely loyal to him. He definitely knows what he's doing, and he is just damn good at his job and loves his battlefield coffee.
That he does.
It's just beautiful to listen to. And Julianne Taylor, again, she gives off a very professional air in the very beginning of the show when she's introduced. And as her character arc unravels and she's revealed to be the daughter of nobility, she gets a bit more of a noble air to her. And then in the finale, when she is leading this joint task force against a guild, she is extremely competent at what she does. And I also particularly like her, the scene where she's alone with Klaus and telling him to, oh god, what did she tell him to do? Where she kissed him. Like, I thought that was a really great scene. And, Crispin Freeman as Alexander Rowe, he's dark, he's brooding. God, I gotta say, my favorite scene of his is the auction house, where you're not quite sure why you think he's gonna buy the MacGuffin, but instead, power goes out and he switches an eye patch he's wearing just so that he's able to see in the dark. It's just one of those badass things, because I didn't know that was something pirates actually did. So yeah, that was really cool, and Alexander Rowe was a really cool character, and Crispin Freeman played him really coolly. Now, on the subject of not cool, we have 3 members of the Guild. It's sort of an organization of very powerful people who are absolutely wackadoodle. We have Maestro Delfine, who is the head of the guild, and she's after Exile. I don't think it's ever explicitly stated why she's after it. I think she just wants it to have it.
She's just crazy.
She doesn't have it, and therefore she wants it.
I think
Right.
if I could spitball a reason why she wants it is that Delfine's want in life is to have everything that is beautiful, expensive, and cute to herself. And from what I understand, Exile essentially would take her to a place that would provide nothing but that for her and the people that she deemed worthy herself. She's just a fucking social Darwinist. She's literally
True.
like she's basically running like fucking death pits and mind rapings.
Now, if she understood where exactly Exile would have taken her, there would have been a sense of irony to it, but...
Where? Doesn't Exile just take you to, like, a field?
No, it goes into outer space.
Exile takes you to Earth.
What?
Oh, right.
The whole thing is, yeah. It's an arc, basically, and it takes you to other worlds. And then when you reactivate it, it'll take you back to where you originated from, which, in this case, and I guess minor spoilers for Fam the Silver Wing. Fam the Silver Wing takes place on Earth.
What?
It takes place on a version of Earth.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, Dio Leclerc is Delphine's little brother. You're not quite sure what his intentions are throughout the course of the show. And even in the end, he holds a lot of that to his chest. Honestly, it feels like he is just there because he wants to hang out with Klaus.
Yeah,
Because Klaus happened to impress him while they were in the middle of a dogfight. And then Dio has a manservant by the name of Luciola, who is fiercely loyal to him. And it is very strongly implied that Dio does not actually see him as a servant the way Delphine does, but rather as a very close friend and confidant.
probably his only friend.
More or less. So Maestro Delphine Leclerc is played by Karen Strassman. Dio Leclerc is played by Joshua Seth. And Luciola is played by Mona Marshall. Alright, Noah, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, we're just gonna get this out of the way right now because it's gonna come up eventually. Dio and Luciola are played by Ty and Izzy from Digimon. I said it. Let's get it.
All you Ty and Izzy shippers have your field
Let's just
day.
get it out of the way. Yeah, so you watch Digimon the movie with its pop soundtrack and its 3 movies stitched together and its terrible puns, and you thought to yourself, hot. those two boys need to be banging. Well, tell you what, they heard you. Gonzo heard you. Well, no, Gonzo didn't hear you. Bang Zoom heard you. And they put these two characters together, and they banged those Zoomers together, and that is why this is the greatest dub that's ever existed. Don't at me, bro. I'm sticking my claim.
Holy shit.
To be fair. Okay, so both Joshua
every Matt tie shipper is coming for you. And your testicles.
Bring it on. I've seen all 6 of the...
And your testes.
I've seen all 6 of the Triade.
And I don't think there are enough tizzies out there to protect you.
You're probably right. Yeah, there's not enough to survive.
They've already taken out Sora! They're coming for Noah!
God, Sora deserves such a better ending than what she got.
Everybody deserved a better ending than what 02 fucking gave us.
I'm just hoping that we'll get some redemption with the last. I know it's not in the 6 movies, but the last Digimon movie.
No, it is. No, Digimon Kizuna, Last Kizuna is literally after the Tri movies. Which in themselves are fucking awful.
I just watched all 6 of them because they were for sale for cheap at my used video store, and there's some good stuff in them, but it derailed very quickly. Did not stick the landing. Did not stick the Digi landing. We were supposed to be talking about this show. So, talking about a good thing that Josh and Mona are in, Mona Marshall's portrayal of Luciola, who I'm pretty sure is male. Mona's got...
Yes, Luciola's male.
This is another instance of, the characters look older than the voice gives off sometimes. But to be fair, having listened to the Japanese sub as well, Luciola's seiyuu also gave that very young voice affectation, so it fits for Mona's performance. And Mona's, to my knowledge, has never turned in a bad acting performance. This is very... as opposed to the more hyper little boys that Mona played before, this one has syllables that are stretched out with kind of a lower register, or at least low by Mona's natural speaking voice. And given the entire, we don't quite know what Dio and Luciola are doing with the good guys in the show, because we're assuming for at least a good chunk of it that they're double agents and that they're out to screw them over at some point. And then we just find out later on that, no, they're not in it for glory and they're not in it for sabotage. They're just hanging out with people that they enjoy being around. So Luciola's entire persona is just a very chill bro who, will take a bullet for you, and thank God for that, because otherwise I wouldn't know why Luciola was in the show. Same with Joshua's Dio, where, again, we don't quite know why he's in here for a good chunk of it, but he's just running away from his problems. He's just hanging out and having fun. Not really in it for the defeat the guild mentality that everyone else is in it for, but honestly, that sinister delivery with a twinge of gay throughout the whole thing just makes it so much fun to listen to. Like, all the other characters are kind of worn down and gruff at, being in a war that never ends. It's kind of nice to have one character who's more upbeat and peppy and has clearly never suffered anything in their life before. And Josh just sounds like he's having...
That's a fucking lie! That is a fucking lie!
Never suffered until the end of the show. Until the best birthday party ever.
That's also a lie, and I'll get to that!
We'll get to the birthday... Okay, never suffered anything, having want for anything. How about that? He's never wanted for anything.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I know rich people problems need to be addressed, and, we have to look out for our billionaires, just like, they deserve. But... No, seriously, eat the rich. There's only one thing they're good for. Hail Aerosmith. No, Josh's performance is, honestly, it's a very sing-song style speaking pattern, and like I said, it's just very different from all the other kind of characters, so, and it wasn't annoying. I kind of thought that maybe Dio would be annoying in that, he's a very cocky pilot that thinks he's better than Klaus is, and then he's just kind of hanging around and gives him pet names, which, my least favorite character from the show The Office is Andy, and I hated him from the very first episode because he gives Jim that stupid nickname Tuna for a very petty reason. That's exactly what Dio does in this show. He's like, I'm going to call you Emoman because of the spin I saw you do, and no, I'm not going to dignify you by using your actual name. I'll use a nickname throughout the whole show. But other than that, it's perfectly fine as a character, and he also deserved a much better ending than he got. The one character who deserved exactly what they got, though, was Delfina, and, I'll let you guys, dig more in on how absolutely despicable she is in the show, but I'll just read off this one quote that Karen delivers that absolutely embodies how perfectly she did in this. Episode 21. This world is too small to support more than a handful of you dirt crawlers. Only myself and a privileged few are allowed the pleasures of enjoying the finer things in this world. That's all I'm going to say. Karen, you did an excellent job on this, and I'm very glad that we got what we got for this villain, because it was... I'm so glad you're dead.
I want to talk about Delfina first. Man, Delfina's a dickbag!
Yeah.
Like, I remember way back in the day of the D2 forums where Jake had his video on his favorite anime villains, and Delfina was like the only female villain on his list.
Mm-hmm.
And now I see why. Delfina is Caligula. She is some fucking Roman-ass emperor-loving shit. Like, she is a piece of fucking work. And I think the best thing about her is that she doesn't really make her presence fully known until the last 5 episodes of the show.
But she's been kind of... the entire guild...
She's been there, but she's not been... She's been there and she's been influencing stuff, but she has not been the major point of antagonism or, like, the collective evil that the two sides are going to give up for. She has been this third party who is playing both sides from the shadows and only showing up when she wants something, because she believes that the world should just be what she finds beautiful and what she wants, and she is willing to do whatever she wants to get it, including brain raping her own brother and putting him in a death sport.
That was pretty
And the way that Karen delivers the line to Klaus, where Klaus is like, aren't you gonna stay and watch? She goes, oh, I don't need to, I only need to see the ending.
She said.
And how uncomfortably, like... She has this, like, uncomfortably youthful, peppy, like, girl voice to her at points, too, so it's extra unnerving. Like, how she's holding Alvis and being like, isn't my Alvis so cute? And Alvis is like, please stop fucking touching me! And just the whole, like... I think she also plays the younger version of Delfina that you see at the beginning of episode 23.
I think so, too, because it sounded pretty close to Karen's adult voice.
And she's very creepy in that, too, where she's just like, see, I got you something. Don't you love me, Dio? Aren't you? I think the line is, have you learned to stop causing pain for me?
Yeah, like...
So it's like, from a very young age, she is just a piece of work, and Karen does a fantastic job as her. So moving over to Dio and Luciola, I'll talk about Luciola first, where Mona plays Luciola as very reserved and very taken back, because Luciola doesn't show any emotion on his face or in his voice. Much to the point that is something that Dio brings up, where I think he eats like half a candy or something, and he goes, if you like it, Luciola, you should show it on your face. Because Luciola doesn't, and you get that scene in the flashback where, little Dio gives little Luciola the food under the table, and Luciola starts crying because Dio is genuinely nice to him, and Dio is genuinely his friend. Which is why episode 23 hurts so much, and Mona does such a good job with such very little dialogue. Because Luciola does not talk a lot.
Nope.
And just that whole final scene where it's like, and especially working off of Karen, where Delfina is very much like, well, if Dio was to tell me that of his own free will, maybe I'll just consider it. And and just the whole way that Dio goes out, Luciola goes out is very sad and very touching. And then, oh boy howdy, let's talk about Joshua Seth. I am on both the episodes of the anniversary things where I get to talk about Josh Seth going crazy. So this was very much a departure from Ty, who is very upstart, and for a lot of people who only know Josh as Ty, who might think, oh, well, he played a very neutered version of the character. I do really implore you to go watch the Cartoon Cyphers video on the Digimon dub and how much they tried to keep that intact. Because Josh does have dramatic chops to him. I think if you've ever seen Digimon Adventure, the episode where Ty goes home, the Metal Greymon stuff, but the one clip that lives in infamy is when he's talking about how Kari got sick.
Mm-hmm.
And this was very much in the episodes 20 and stuff where he lives up to that dramatic stuff where he's a pain in the ass, he's a little bit weird, it's not always strong when Dio is just kind of being the dumb, kind of avoiding the pain thing, but once you start to see how Dio is becoming afraid because he knows he's about to lose who he is, it is really good shit. Like where he talks to the engineer of the Sylvanas, where he goes, I'm about to lose the joy of flying. And how he's screaming in madness to not get that stuff taken out. And the kind of weird, like, whimpers and groans you hear when he's brainwashed. Like, legitimately, that scene where they're in the dining hall after he's won the death bout, and you just hear them talking over Dio just smacking the spoon into the table. And then, of course, the final scene with Dio where he's like, Luciola, we won, we beat Emelman, and he's kind of that first Dio that we meet. And he turns around and he's like, Luciola, where have you gone? I didn't mean for you to actually jump out. Where did you go? And you can, it honest to God sounds like a little kid losing a puppy.
Yeah.
So, and the one thing I will say is, Dio suffered a long time because in that first part of that flashback, it is literally him crying, I think, after Delfina beat the shit out of him. To the point where she grabs him and licks his face, and it's just really creepy. So that's all I have to say.
That does lend credence to the idea that there aren't any adults in their world, and that they really are just test tube babies that are allowed to roam free.
Yeah, also there's a lot of, like, kind of incestuous undertones to why she wants Dio to be a mindless slave, because I think that she was planning on fucking him.
Yeah, there was that.
We're gonna file that one under brain bleach and move on.
Alright, Amon, you all ready?
Yeah. Let's start with Karen. She does a really good job with Delfina. She just makes her so just decadent and self-absorbed, and Delfina clearly doesn't think what she's doing is evil. She thinks she's very justified, and I think Karen Strassman captures that really well in a weird way. Like she seems very malicious to us, the audience, obviously, but she does a good job of capturing that sense that, like, it never even crosses her mind that anything she's doing might remotely be wrong.
No.
Like, you're the weird ones. You're the lowly savages who we can't let get out of control. You're the ones with the problem. We're fine. I'm fine. I don't know what your damage is.
And I think what makes it even creepier is not just that she believes that, but that's a genuine argument that a lot of people in power have used to, make things awful for the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm.
But that's in the past, that wouldn't continue into the present day. Clearly. It's fine.
You getting a little topical there, Mr. Noah Clue.
Everything's fine. This is fine. Everything is awesome.
I mean, everything is cool when you're part of a team, but I don't see what we're a team, I guess, and this is fun, so that's true.
We're all in this together.
Yeah, she's just really, just kind of grandiose and malicious. It's just a really, not fun per se, but it's really well done. Like, this isn't quite the kind of villain who you love to hate per se. But she just nails the character really well whenever she's on screen. I do like that slow build up where she she starts showing up here and there, and as time goes on we get more and more of her, and I think she just captures the character's essence really well. It's a really strong performance, I think.
I mean, we're kind of tipped off to her full intentions in her premiere episode where she gives that ring to the auctioneer.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, all these people kind of have a bit of a sinister vibe with their sort of weird sci-fi elf look. Like you can kind of tell something's up with them, even if it's not obvious right off the bat. Like,
They really do.
You're like elves, but not like fun Tolkien elves, like fairy tale elves that like eat people or something. Like,
no,
you're not good.
We don't get a Legolas in this. We get a very, very twisted. Oh God, what was her name? The lady with the water. I can't remember her name.
The lady that's played by not the lead pace elf, but the girl elf.
The one who's in the place of a Dark Lord, you would have a queen. That one.
Yeah, that lady. I don't know who plays her. I was like, you mean the one that's played by Liv Tyler,
No.
but not her?
No.
Wait, isn't that Tilda Swinton?
Is it?
Yeah, that is
Right,
Tilda
yeah.
Swinton.
Okay.
Okay.
Hold on. Was it in the place? I have to look up that character's name.
While you're doing that,
Gladriel! It's Gladriel is her
Thank you.
name.
Some people don't know Digimon voice actors. I don't know Tolkien characters.
in your defense, there's a lot of those.
Also, B, that wasn't Tilda Swinton, that was Kate
I
Blanchett.
knew
Let's Kate Blanchett, okay.
Oh, Kate Blanchett. Okay.
I was just like, I know it's not Liv Tyler.
Alright. Where was I?
We don't want to miss a thing here.
Sorry, you were saying Amon.
How have there been 2 Aerosmith references and I haven't made either of them? What is going on? Anywho. In contrast, I think Joshua and Mona play off each other really, really well. I think Mona does a good job of making Luciola feel very, very neutral and flat to a certain extent, but not like a there's no personality kind of way. Just in kind of like, I have been told all my life that I have a role to fill, and this is my role. And I might have a deeper inner life, but I live in a culture that has encouraged that to be either gotten rid of or suppressed, and that's what I'm doing right now, because that's how you don't get disposed of in this society. Especially like towards the end, where I think like even Luciola is struggling with like what is his place in the world, where do his loyalties actually lie, and I think Mona, I think especially there, really excels at that. I think she does a fantastic job, and Joshua's just great. I know he was out of voice acting for a long time. I know he retired, I think, at some point in the mid-2000s. And which I always thought was a shame, because I always thought he was a very strong voice actor, and even for a long time, like, all I knew him for was Tai and this. But even just based on these two, it's like, oh, this is a guy with good chops. Like, he's delightful in this. He always feels very... He's a good contrast to Karen Strassman's performance, where he always feels a little... There's always something a little off, like he could be a villain, but he never feels as obviously like malicious or evil. There's sort of a weird playfulness about him. It's like when he's zooming around Klaus and Lavi's ship, and he doesn't shoot them, he just says bang. Because I could have killed you, but I didn't. And it's a game for him. He's not going to kill you, but he could. And that's fine.
It's very telling that the first thing we see him doing is playing a game of chess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very much so. And I think he just does a good job of having that. He could be a bad guy, but his motivations are always held very close to the chest. We're not sure why he's there, but I think Joshua really captures that really well. He just performs the character very well. He gives him the right level of like quasi-sinisterness, but maybe he is here just because he's having a fun time, and he's not going to cause any trouble, and he's perfectly happy to just stay here and have fun with his quote friends unquote, and he never has to worry about any of his other obligations ever again, and wouldn't that be wonderful? There's something oddly tragic about Dio's storyline. Things did not play out the way he wanted it to.
Dio just wanted to GTFO from Delfina.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this is another strong set of performances. I think these were all really well done and executed, and I was really happy with them.
Cool. Alright, I think I'll start with Karen Strassman and Lady Delphine. She does a really good job with sort of the vain, abusive, older family figure to Dio. I know this was touched upon a bit, but she is particularly cruel and does not seem to have any sort of capability for empathy for anyone, least of all herself. And nearly all of the scenes she's in are absolutely bone-chilling. So very, very high props for her performance. I like that Mona Marshall played Luciola a bit robotic, but at the same time, like, it feels like there is... I'm trying to figure out the words for this. Like, there is a person trying to struggle out of this sort of shell of a human being. And I really like that sort of complexity in Luciola, because it's not apparent until he actually makes his move to protect Dio at the very end of the show. And as for Dio himself, I really love that Joshua Seth played him with such a childish wonder. Like Megan had said, Dio seems to have never needed to want. Anything he wanted, he got.
That was Noah, not me.
Oh, okay. He acts like a very spoiled child. And a lot of his story arc in the original Last Exile is the crew of the Sylvana sort of inadvertently removing a little bit of that vanity from him. He slowly starts to realize himself as a human being, and I really like that bit of him. Especially when he finally encounters his sister again. He freaks out and gets captured and whatnot, and is forced into his sort of... Oh, man. He is broken when he is aboard Maestro Delphine's flagship. He is just absolutely, you know, like Dio, an absolute... Or, not like Dio, like Luciola. He is an absolute shell of a human being when we encounter him again. Because Delphine had made that really expensive pudding, and all Dio was doing was smashing it with his hand. And then licking it off of his hand, and Delphine considered that so cute, and like, that was... It was weird, it was creepy, but it was a really effective scene at what it needed to do. So all around, these were three very, very strong performances for the show. Also, I'm really glad to be talking about Joshua Seth on the show again, let me just say. But in any case, we have one last batch of characters to go over. Klaus Volka is a novice vanship pilot alongside Lovey Head. Their fathers, respectively, were one of the first people to attempt to cross the Grand Stream from Anatare into Dissith in an attempt to broker peace. But they unfortunately met a tragic end when their vanship encountered the Exile. Klaus and Lovey end up becoming pilots and crew members aboard the Sylvana in an attempt to figure out what exactly happened to their father, and to protect Alvis Hamilton, the key to exile, who is, through a series of chants, she is basically the one who activates the ship in order to set it on its return trip home. So Klaus Volka is played by Johnny Young Bosch, Lavi Head by Kari Walgren, and Alvis Hamilton by Michelle Ruff. So I will start this off with Noah.
Yay.
What did you think about this, about our batch of main characters?
This is, you were mentioning before how, if, Crispin Freeman and Steve Bloom being in a scene together is mind-boggling to us here in 2020. Same goes for having a show starring Johnny Young Bosch and Kari Walgren, because to my knowledge, unless you count ensemble shows like Do Ra Ra Ra, the two of them haven't been stars in a show since then. And so it's really nice to hear them work off each other, because, Johnny's using his nicer Vash the Stampede voice, very in contrast to, his more sinister voice and stuff like Do Ra Ra Ra. And even though the character is 15, even though Klaus is supposed to be 15 and Johnny sounds a little bit older than that, you can kind of forgive that a little bit, because both Klaus and Lavi are supposed to be have to act more mature than their age, because they are not only orphans, but they are taking on the flying responsibilities that is usually reserved for older individuals. They're partaking in a race near the beginning of the show that's entirely filled of adults who have been doing this for quite a long time, and those adults kind of berate them a little bit for their inexperience and for being younger, but they hold their own, and they easily would have won if not for, the plot kind of crashing in and giving them adoptive daughter to, take care of. But that is why Johnny cannot be portraying Klaus as stuck up or arrogant or even boring, because that just wouldn't do for a character who's supposed to be the everyman and still developing into this big war. He goes from being just a guy delivering messages to a freedom fighter against the big bads of the show. And Johnny does a really good job on that. Lavi's, by contrast, is, they work off each other really well. Klaus is the cool, collected one. Lavi is the fire spitter, who is also a really good mechanic. And Kari then gets to have a lot of kind of burst out moments, where she takes a metal chair and tries to smash it over a guy's head for cheating in a gambling ring. As she should have. I would not have stopped her. She should have smacked him. But she also not only gets to have a lot of great freak out moments, but she also gets a lot of morose moments too. There's a scene where she very not deadpan, but dead to the world, says to the camera, "My sweet short life is over." But it bugs me so much that Lavi gets kind of sidelined to secondary character in the second half of the show, because after episode 10, she doesn't want to fly anymore, at least in battle. She's fine delivering messages, but she doesn't want to fly into combat. So she spends the rest of the show trying to fix up their airship, and so Kari doesn't get to stretch her chop so much, and that bugged me. But despite that, they are a very good pair working off of each other, and the show gives each of them both tender moments and funny comic relief moments that, honestly, I could see them stretching the show out even further. And it kind of feels like the show should have, because I don't know about you guys, but that last episode felt just a little too rushed. Like they had to wrap everything up in one final episode, and we didn't quite get the satisfaction of an epilogue like we do for some other shows. We did get an epilogue, but we didn't quite get to see, the final resolution of their characters. But still, they're good actors. They're good in this. And that brings me finally to Michelle. And as Megan said before, this is a product of the time in that some actors get to play multiple lead roles, and this is one for Michelle. She got to play both Tatianna, and she gets to play, as we now know, not 4-year-old, but 11-year-old Alvis. Yeah, for the record, not 4, 11. 4-year-olds can't read that good. I have a 6-year-old, almost 7-year-old, who is just now learning to read picture books. Where was I going with this? Michelle's portrayal of this, this is on her meeker side, whereas Tatianna was the older Fujiko Mine, Rukio from Bleach kind of voice. This is her more trademark moe voice, and it's okay. It's not annoying. It's pretty dynamic in that she gets a lot across in very few words, because Alvis takes a while to warm up to what's going on, because at the beginning she experienced someone dying who she was very close to, and throughout the whole thing she grows into being a more full-fleshed individual as she becomes part of the crew. And Michelle's portrayal of that is to never have her lose her youthful softness to her. She just becomes very compassionate towards everyone around her. And that goes from being the navigator for Klaus near the end of the show to being unafraid of what she is, as she learns that, oh yeah, I am the Sephiroth gateway key to this alien tentacle monster, and I'm okay with that.
I'm the keys to the Kia.
Again, I don't know what Korean vehicles you've been driving, but I think you need to get a refund.
I drive a Nissan, thank you.
I want to pretend like I didn't hear that and keep going on.
I'm sorry, what?
Nothing. So,
Noah, you do know Nissan is a brand of car, right?
I do know that. I'm saying that I'm just not a big fan of Nissan, okay? Yes, I am snooty about my brand of cars, okay? I'm not a fan of Nissan.
What, Noah? You don't want to ride your Nissan?
No. And you know what? I don't like Dodges either. I'll go on record and saying that. Yes, I know we were talking about a co-sponsorship from Dodge who was going to support this podcast, but I say screw them. I don't like their vehicles. I'm sorry, Steph. I know that sponsorship
Whoosh.
that we were going to get is just out the window now. I'm sorry. Yes,
Whoosh.
whoosh gone.
Whoosh!
So
Anyway.
Yeah, lots of little good moments throughout this whole show. The backstory in episode 14 helped flesh them out really good. We understand their we understand their motivations really well. And in a show where it's very rare to get a show where children are sucked into a big world conflict like this, and where they feel believable in it. Because a lot of times, if you have kids sucked into a big world conflict, they kind of feel pitied by the adults who are supposed to be running the whole thing. But Klaus and Lavi and near the end Alvis kind of prove that they can hold their own. They cross the grand stream, you know? They cross that grand line and they find the One Piece, and that is a really big accomplishment. They set up to the thing they wanted to at the beginning of the show. So, for all the voice acting, all this, really good, and I don't know, maybe we'll see Johnny and Kari co-star in another anime in the future.
Man, I wonder if those two crazy kids ever got anywhere with their careers. I'm kidding. Of course they did.
Oh, absolutely. So what did you think of them, Megan?
I can't believe that Adam is a frog. Klaus, I'm a vanship pilot. I'll talk about Michelle as Alvis first. I actually thought her Alvis performance was the roughest in the whole show for me. Sometimes it was a little stilted because she had to forcibly play herself so young and try to differentiate her from being Tatianna. And I think her performance as Tatianna was the strongest of the two performances that she did in the show. Not to say it's bad, it's just, to me, it was my least favorite performance of, the main core cast. But man, I fucking love Johnny and Kari as Klaus and Lavi. Also now I can see exactly why they had Micah Solasad voice match Johnny and Fan the Silver Wing. Because if you literally took it to a person who did not know actors by name, they would have probably thought it was Micah.
Mm-hmm.
It is very spot on to what Micah sounded like in his early career. Hence why they voice matched him to Johnny characters a lot. And why Johnny plays a lot of his characters' dads. Yona and Eureka 7 Astral Ocean. I think the thing that I like the most about his performance as Klaus is that Klaus is never, he yells and stuff, but he's always, kind of the more emotionally softy of the two of them. Granted, Klaus and Lavi are both kind of emotional softies. Mm-hmm. And that's what I genuinely like about both of them as characters. I think that Johnny plays him just super solid. maybe not, like, the strongest Johnny Bosch I've seen. But then again, I've been spoiled by so many great Johnny Bosch performances over his career, like, I'm trying to think of, like, Leo in Promare recently, his current work on Demon Slayer's pretty good, honestly, that Klaus sounds a lot like you from Demon Slayer, but younger to me. They have a very similar tone in their voice. He does not sound like Leo from Promare, to which, Amon, you've seen Promare, right?
Not dubbed.
Oh, but you've seen the movie.
Yeah.
Did you see that post I think was, it was just Leo singing the Game Grumps, God damn, fucking shit! No, fuck! And it's just to that movie, and it's literally the entire summary of Leo's character in the film. If not, I'll send it to you after this.
Alright.
Klaus is such a good, sweet boy who somehow gets himself a harem. Like, Tatianna.
I mean, they're not...
Lavi, Sophia, Dio. Dio counts.
No...
Dio counts.
Listen, okay, in every harem show...
Dio
in every harem show, the main character, the MC, has to have at least one male character who just makes him look better in contrast. And usually that friend is voiced by Greg Ayers, but not so in this case. So I'm not saying he's part of the harem.
He is in Fam the Silver Wing.
It's...
So, funny story about that, Noah.
He is in Fam the Silver Wing.
You're kidding.
He is
You're
No, I'm
kidding?
not.
Oh my god.
It's in the fucking chat!
I didn't read I avoided all spoilers for Fam the Silver Wing, okay? Like, full disclaimer.
No, Noah. Roots put who is their vocal match in the chat.
I didn't read that part.
I literally did, Noah.
I'm sorry.
I love that funny story about that.
Don't arrest me, please. I have a wife and child. I can't afford any more sick days.
That's it. You have to drive. That's it. You have to drive a Dodge.
God damn it. I don't want to die.
That's it. You're getting the 1998 Toyota Corolla.
I'll take the Toyota. That's fine.
No, but he's a lot of fun. But to me, the biggest standout in this is definitely Kari Walgren as Lavi, who sounds like a 14-year-old Haruko Harahara. Like, I can't unhear Haruko in this, and it doesn't bother me as much as you'd think. Like, I absolutely love it. Lavi is my favorite character, next to Dio. And I do also feel really bad that Lavi gets kind of designated to secondary, up until the end, and I'm not gonna lie, I almost started sobbing when Kari climbs up, when they actually find their dad's for realsy van ship. And she climbs up, and she just goes, "Oh, daddy." And you just start crying with her, and you're just like, fuck, man.
That was a little...
She does a really great job as Lavi. She brings so much energy to it. She never has a bad read. I think she's the best performance in the show, so. But from that, I'm gonna hand it over to Amon.
Sure. Where to start? Michelle Ruff is really cute as Alvis. Alvis is... so just adorable and just trying to... She doesn't really know what the fuck's going on. She doesn't understand why any of this is happening, or why she has to get dragged around. She's just found some friends who are just nice to her, and she just wants to hang out with them. Because it beats the hell out of everything else going on around her.
She does have...
And Michelle's...
She has the most adorable stuffed goat.
I love that goat. I want one of those goats. It's so cute. And he's very sweet and charming as Elvis, who clearly just wants things to go well and hang out with her friends and not have to deal with all this stuff that keeps getting dragged around to her that she doesn't understand or want to deal with. She's very cute. She's very charming. I don't have a lot to add to that other than that, so let's talk about Kari and Johnny. To your point, Noah, can you imagine how hard people would flip their shit if they were the co-leads of something that came out now? Jesus Christ.
People would be shitting their pants.
Yeah, it would be right up there with the free cast announcement as far as like, holy shit, shut my life down while I watch this show.
It's just like, here they are, relatively early in their career. I think I think this was airing around the same time Fooly Cooly was airing on Adult Swim at the time. So like Kari was nobody basically. She was just starting out. You know, if you knew Johnny from something, it would have been either Power Rangers, where if you go back to those really early episodes, like he got better, but you could tell early on that they hired him because he was a martial artist who could act a little, maybe, not because he was a good actor yet. He got a lot better, but.
Can we just say that he is above Jean-Claude Van Damme in the martial artists who can act category?
I don't know. I really like Jean-Claude Van Damme. Have you seen Bloodsport? He is hilarious in that.
Okay, that's a different.
There's a whole bit where he makes Forrest Whitaker run around, chase him around a city, and he is great.
Okay. Yes, that is, but that's a very different.
Now I'm just imagining Jean-Claude Van Damme in Last Exile.
Honestly, with the kind of show this is, he would probably die in his first episode.
He would absolutely die.
It would be
with all due respect.
Jean-Claude Van Damme!
Mr. Von Damme, this is not a movie. This is not a show for you.
The live-action Last Exile where Jean-Claude Van Damme is Mullen.
Yes.
Okay. Funny story about that, Megan, but I will save it for final thoughts.
I'm scared what this is going to lead to.
Oh, God!
Anyways. So if you had seen, at this point, if you'd seen Johnny in anime, it probably would have been Trigun and maybe a few other things at this point. So they're both at least relatively new actors, and they are so good in this. Johnny at this point, I think within 5 years of this, I think Johnny had already earned a reputation of hey, we need a bright, optimistic, kind of maybe shonen-y lead character. Are we dubbing in California? Let's see if we can get Johnny Young Bosch, because he'll nail that shit so hard. It is funny. It is funny watching this now and realizing it's yeah, of course they cast him as Renton in Eureka 7. Of course they did. He could even pitch his voice up enough to actually sound relatively close to an actual teenager. He's I like him a lot. Klaus is he's a good boy. He is nice in a sincere way. He is just a good kid who wants to do well and deliver letters and do good stuff. And Johnny's just really good at he's good at that. That's a character type I think he always excels at when he gets cast in, and I think you can really see it in here. He's just and he can get some range in here because Klaus does go through a change as the show goes on, just because of what he has to go through and experience. But I think Johnny just he's just really good at it. And that also goes for Kari. I think even if Lavi doesn't have as much to do in the second half of the show, Kari's always a delight. I feel I'm trying to think of more recent things I've seen her in, but I feel like she doesn't always get to play kind of younger characters as much anymore, even though at least at the time she was really good at that. Lavi sounds exactly how you would want this character to sound.
Amon, have you I know you're a big fan of Fairly Odd Parents. You saw some of the newer seasons, right?
Don't talk about them, they don't fucking exist.
I'm gonna point out that I was a teenager when Fairly Odd Parents was on TV. I wasn't watching as many cartoons by that point.
I'm just being facetious, but yeah, she shows. And you're
is she on that? Good for her.
In the later season where they were running out of stories, so they just added more characters. They did the Rumiko Takahashi thing, except bad.
Is that so? The cousin Oliver did. Shame.
Yeah, but there were no good characters being added. I'm sorry, but she was good in the show. It just
cousin Oliver.
That's a reference for our older fans.
Hi, older people. Do you like jokes about things from the 70s? We're gonna get along just fine.
You remember? Anyways, go on.
I had a point. She's just a lot of fun here. I think she captures the character really well. She is peppy and spunky, but she feels very authentic, especially when she's oh god, we're gonna die. I don't want to die. But she also, Lavi gets to have her more, dramatic emotional moments, and I think Kari does that really well. I think the peak of that being in the last episode when they find their dad's van ship, and she just breaks down a little bit because, well, how would you react in that situation? Yeah, no, these, as far as, to my recollection, they were both relatively early in their career, and they were already so good at what they were doing. The fact that they're the biggest names as they are now, I think that's really not surprising. It's like these two clearly knew what they were doing at the time, and I think they've only gotten better with age. So yeah, this is great. Thumbs up.
All right. Yeah, one sec. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna start with Lavi and Kari Walgren. She just gives Lavi this pep, this energy. Lavi's a real go-getter. She is the one who is constantly tweaking the band ship in order to make it more suitable for the races and deliveries and all this. She is the one that does, while Klaus is the one who thinks of the logistics of how to do it. I also really like while it's sort of a gut punch to Lavi's character arc in the second act when Klaus is just suddenly getting all this attention from the female members of the Solvana, and she's actually getting kind of jealous about it. I think Kari did a really great job, conveying that. And also, I love it when Johnny Young Bosch gets to play sort of naive characters. I think it's a really great fit for his voice. And Johnny gets to do a lot of cool stuff with Klaus. Klaus is a character. He is not in and of himself, protagonist material. He's definitely an ensemble player, particularly with Lavi, and I think Johnny got that really, really forward and straight, and it's he just plays Klaus as this good kid. You don't want anything bad to happen to him. There's probably going to be some stuff, but you root for him. And yeah, Johnny just has this really good sort of sense of naivete to Klaus's character arc, and it's just wonderful.
Roots. Have you seen the Count of Monte Cristo anime?
I've seen a little bit of it, but I haven't finished it.
Okay, so that is the pinnacle Johnny Young Bosch playing slightly naive characters performance, at least as far as I can remember.
Yeah. I mean, I like his performance in Last Exile a little better. Maybe that's just personal bias, though, but...
Oh, no, that's honestly, because versus Albert, Klaus is much less of a moron.
Fair. Now, Michelle Ross as Alvis. I will agree with Megan that she is a little bit rough. Pardon the pun. Particularly when she has to act against herself. There are a few scenes in the show in which Alvis and Tatianna have to interact with one another, and it is a little strange because you can tell in both cases it's Michelle Ruff. So it was just a little bit awkward, but particularly at the end when she really has to act and convey this sense of horror in Alvis as she's being held hostage by the guild and, clinging ever tighter to Klaus. She does get the performance down, it's just the voice gets a little bit awkward. So in general, I give all three of the leads a thumbs up. Even despite the sort of awkwardness with Alvis, I still generally enjoyed the performance. And with that, I think it's time for final thoughts. So Noah, why don't you start us off?
Thank you, and thank you very much also for letting us keep the Fire Force group together to do this show. Fun fact for those listening in the audience.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, this is a great group to work with. Our chat icon for Fire Force was Marshall from Paw Patrol. So we were, somebody, I don't know who did this, but someone was a fun person and decided, well, now that...
Oh, I absolutely fucking did.
Okay, it was change the logo from Marshall to Sky from Paw Patrol. So what's going to happen is this same group is going to do shows tied into all the Paw Patrol characters. You know, we'll do a water-themed one for Zuma. We'll do a police one for Chase, and it's going to be fun. We're going to make this a sextuplet group.
Which is the one? Which one are we gonna do for the bulldozer dog?
For Rubble?
There's not an anime about construction. Yeah, there's not really an anime about construction.
Or we may have to dig for that one, but I'm sure we can think of something.
Bite me.
Oh wait, no, we gotta do 7 because there's a seventh one. There's a snow Paw Patrol dog too. We gotta do something for that. That won't be hard. There's plenty of anime in the snow. As far as the flying, later, honey. So as far as the flying show goes, this was it's a show that I'm very glad I finally got a chance to watch because I'd own a DVD copy of this for like 10 years now. Finally got around to watching it. That being said, I'm not surprised that it's kind of faded from popularity as far as least with people who weren't there when it first came out, because it's a very dense, very mature kind of show with some rather dated CGI to it. And I mean, you could say it's, you know, charitably and say like, okay, it's like video game graphics from the time period. You know, it's a time capsule for how the best that CGI could look at the time period. Questionable on that, but regardless, the dub itself is absolutely top tier and is comparable to what we are getting today. Any military-heavy or combat-heavy anime that you may have seen recently, this is going to be on par with that, and with the emotional complexity of characters to go with it, with some real-world politics in it as well. I don't know entirely, like, I researched, and I couldn't find out if there was, like, one event that motivated this particular story in Japan. I know we were living in, you know, post 9/11 world at the time period. I don't know if that seeped into the writing. Point being is that it's a good show if you're just kind of paying attention, and it's a great show if you're really paying attention. It's dense, it's pretty heavy on the CGI, but the voice acting is really good on it. And I am gonna go check out Fam of the Silver Wing after this. Even though I've heard it's not as good, I just kind of want to keep finding out more about this world that I devoted 26 episodes to. So thank you, Roots, for advising me to watch this.
No big thing.
All right, my turn. So I have been meaning to watch this for a couple of years, at least 2 years now. Seeing as I've tried to flirt with this show. I genuinely did. I really like this show. I think this show is pretty great. I wouldn't put it as like one of the best anime I've ever seen, but this was a lot of fun to watch, and I had a good time watching it. I thought the dub was very solid. I thought it was a lot of fun. It's a little rough around the edges in some places, and I do think that it is a little bit not like substantially weaker than what we're getting now, but I would say it's not as strong by like a couple like inches. But I would easily recommend this to somebody who, like, if you're just gonna casually watch the show, the dub it's not like, oh, the dub is god awful, don't watch it, just watch it with subtitles. Watch the dub, it's pretty good, it's very interesting, and if you were not old enough to remember when dubs like Digimon first came out, there's going to be a lot of voice actors in this that you're maybe not super familiar with, or if you are familiar with, you're going to be like, damn, this person goes back a while. I'd also like to point out 2 things I forgot to talk about. One, I'd like to point out that one of the guys in the crew gave Dio porn for his birthday, which was great. 2, I keep forgetting that Mona Marshall was in Blue Exorcist, and the only thing I can think about with this character is Brian Beacock's blooper of, I'm just going to run down and get Kanekamaru some porno mags. And number 3, so that roller coaster story from earlier, Roots was down visiting me a couple weeks ago. It was great. I took him to Busch Gardens and I made him go on a roller coaster called Tigress. And at the very top of Tigress there is what's called a 0G roll. And the way that this roller coaster works is that it sends you back, it sends you forward, it sends you back, and then it shoots you up forward again, and you come up over the top, but you take the 0G roll really slowly. As we are going through it, both of us are out of our seats because of the way the ride works. And I'm like, yeah, this is great. I just hear from next to me, nope, 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 I don't like this, I don't like this, no, 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 no. And then we went over the edge. I went back on it again. He didn't go on it, but when I went on it the second time, I actually slammed my arm down hard enough to nearly bruise it.
Wow.
It was great! But that being said, Amon, please talk about the 1998 Toyota Corolla. I mean, Last Exile.
I'm sorry, but before you go on, did you honest? Okay, does Busch Garden have a roller coaster that's named after a character in Kung Fu Panda, or is that just a coincidence?
Coincidence.
You do know a tigress is a real thing. You do know that, Noah.
No,
It's important to me that you know that.
Oh, right. And next you're gonna tell me a Kung Fu Panda is a real thing.
No, that's just in a movie.
No,
Wait, are you telling me that all monkeys aren't voiced by Jackie Chan?
No, number one, Busch Gardens has nothing to do with the DreamWorks line of characters. They have Sesame Street at their parks.
All right. I will remember that when I come down to Florida.
Oh, we'll take you.
You better.
Anyway, Amon, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Noah's comment made me lose my train of thought.
Sorry.
Also, it's very late and I'm tired. What was I going to say? I like this dub a lot. I think it is very solid. I think it's really well done. I think it's if you're interested in kind of like the history and evolution of dubs, I think it's a really good example of that kind of early 2000s. Okay, we don't need to change a lot for American audiences or English-speaking audiences all that much. We can mostly just adapt and localize relatively close to the Japanese, and that's going to be fine. I think this is a very strong example of that. I think everyone's I think the casting is really good. I think the direction and writing is really strong on this. I think it's a great show. I think even if it is maybe a little dated looking, the CGI, I think at least the CGI looks sharp and consistent for what counted for 2003. And if we ever hit the point where like early CGI kind of stops looking dated and just kind of becomes retro, like certain design things from 50 sci-fi movies have hit, I think Last Exile will be a show that benefits a lot from that. I think it does look nice for what it is, and I think that'll benefit for it in the long run. And given this is pretty readily available these days, go check it out and watch it. It's a good show. And you can also go check out Blue Submarine number 6, which was made by a lot of the same people a few years earlier. Which I have shockingly not seen, even though it looks like the exact kind of thing I would enjoy. So that's on me.
Did that air on television?
Yeah, and
it was on Toonami. Yes.
Okay.
yes, that actually
Adult
got
Swim,
broadcast run on Toonami.
Okay.
Proper Cartoon Network Toonami.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's an OVA, so it's 4-6 episodes, something like that. But
yeah,
it was on American TV.
All right.
Yeah. All right, so I guess it's my turn. Last Exile is definitely a product of its time. Bear in mind that this aired around early 2003. So, around that time, Spirited Away would have won the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature, first and foremost. And to sort of coincide with that and sort of the tone of the show, Hayao Miyazaki also notoriously refused to come to America to accept his award because he was vehemently against the Iraq War.
And that drove some of the plot choices he made in directing Howl's Moving Castle, too.
Yep. Now, I know Miyazaki and Ghibli are way out of the way when we're talking about Studio Gonzo and the production of Last Exile, but it should serve as sort of a bellwether of, politics within the animation scene. So, the show is vehemently anti-war. To the extent that stuff like Tomino's works, or there was another example I wanted to name, but it escapes me. But it's basically, why do we have a child piloting this war machine? Like, the show actively goes out of its way to ask that question. But I think this is it is very slow, it is very scenic, it is very beautiful, and it is very much worth your time if that's your kind of jam. The dub is absolutely spectacular. Even in terms of just that sort of early 2000s, this is the, at the time, peak anime bubble dub. This would be another, I want to say 3 or 4 years before the bubble pops and Geneon goes under and ADD. So this would, I feel like Last Exile as a dub represents the peak of the mid-2000s anime dub.
That's a...
Bebop sort of preceded this era.
Definitely.
But, you know, Last Exile is definitely, like, I consider it to be one of the strongest dubs of all time.
I would argue that maybe Full Metal Alchemist may take that crown, but that had some strong highs, but it also had some shaky parts in it too. So maybe from like a total package point, you may be right about Last Exile being the pinnacle of what we got.
Well, don't forget, I also said one of the strongest dubs of all.
Right.
So, yeah.
Of that era, not
than
the
one.
strongest.
Yeah.
Sorry. We were in an era where, you know, we feel need to have a winner of everything, so, you know, we gotta knock everything down a peg.
No, there is enough room in the greatest dub farm for a bunch of stuff.
You are right.
But in any case, if our 3 hours worth of rambling about how the Last Exile dub is good has made you curious about checking out the show, you can head on over to Funimation, where for just anywhere from $5.99 to $7.99 a month, or $59.99 to $99.99 a year, you can get access to a bunch of anime dubs and now subs, now that their Crunchyroll partnership has ended. A lot of interesting stuff there, including Last Exile, and a bunch of other shows from acclaimed character designer of Last Exile, Range Murata, including last year's Bem and Copcraft, Salty Ray, Shangri-La, or, you know, as we like to call it, Title Goes Here.
Oh, he did. I should have realized that he did Shangri-La based off the cover.
Yep. Because the main character just looks just like Elvis.
We've told the have we ever told the Anime Boston Shangri-La story?
I believe we have. And if we haven't, it's probably on a vlog. Yeah, with the insert title here.
Insert title here.
If you sign up, you are eligible for a 2-week free trial. If Funimation's not your thing, feel free to cancel it, but do so within that 2-week time frame, or else you will be charged because they ask for a credit card. Speaking of financial transactions, we have a Patreon page that if you will include a link in the down below parts, with also a like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. That also helps us a lot. But we do want to thank our patrons for providing financial contributions to the show that make it a lot easier for us to do what we do. So at the $5 tier, I would like to thank Crimson Echidna, Michelle Travis, Miraculous Corazon, and Nico Robin, but with the Yowie hands. Now at the $10 tier, we have Carly Lessicow, Jacob Wilson, J2, aka Jared, Marissa Lenti, and Weeby. Thank you very much, all of you, for sending a little bit of
Thank you.
Much obliged. And as I mentioned before, if you're listening to this on YouTube, head down to the down below parts, subscribe, thumbs up the video, ring the bell too, because that also, it helps us quite a bit. And, leave a comment as well. Just don't be a jerk about it. The Dub Talk Podcast also has a Twitter account at Dub Talk Podcast, where you can mainly receive updates on what we are up to. Also, we occasionally will post interesting things that come our way about anime dubs and voiceover. We'll mainly put it there for you guys to check out. And we also have a Twitch stream of the same name. Considering everything that's going on in the world right now, we are trying to do more with that, just to give you guys a little more entertaining stuff to do. So stay tuned. We will definitely mention it in our social media feeds when we decide to use it.
Yes.
And with that, I think I will pass it on to Noah so that we can all tell you where you can find us individual members of the show.
Thank you. So thank you very much for listening in. And by the way, if you've gotten all the way to the episode here and you want the secret special prize, the keyword to type into the comments is Zugzwang. Yes, Zugzwang, which is a chess move where you can only not move or else you will lose the game. And that is an episode title that is kind of tied into that concept. I just wanted to type that in because that's a very fun word to say. Zugzwang. But if you want to follow me and my other weirdness, you can follow me on Twitter, Noah Clue. Post comments about the animation world in general and pictures of my children who are locked inside with me for a little bit of time. But that's okay because it turns out that I actually like being a dad. And I also have a YouTube channel called Journey Traveler, which, time permitting, for the conditions we're in right now, I may actually be able to do something more with. So keep an eye out for that. Megan!
You can follow me at QueenEra2. I shitpost on a daily basis. I'm also falling half asleep. Sorry, just follow me at QueenEra2. I post pictures of my cat, and sometimes talk about Animal Crossing.
You can find me at Amon Duel US on Twitter. Duel is spelled with 2 U's. I talk about comic books and movies and music and things like that. And I also have a dusty old song if anyone would like one.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Does it come with a bagpipe?
Dusty song, dusty song, dusty song.
Maybe, actually.
Yes.
So, as we've noted... Oh, so I should also point out the OP to this show is a banger. You should
oh god, it's so
absolutely.
good.
Cloud Age Symphony is one of the best songs I've ever heard. Even if you have no intention to watch the show, you should absolutely go watch the OP right now. That song is great. I bought the soundtrack for this just for that song.
Nice.
Yeah. FYI, not only is Cloud Age Symphony a really good song, the opening to Fam the Silver Wing called Buddy is also really fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
And it also has some of the best transition work in anime openings.
It's a high claim.
No. As Noah has reminded us, there's a chess theme going on throughout the show, particularly in the episode titles. So I decided I would share some music that has to do with chess.
Wait.
Now I could share you something from the musical Chess.
I was gonna ask.
I am a Benny and Bjorn fan. They are geniuses. There's no question there. But frankly, aside from One Night in Bangkok, I've never heard a single song from Chess. And while I do enjoy the sound of respected British stage actor Murray Head rapping, as absurd as that is, I am going to share something infinitely nerdier with you. In the 70s, there was a prog rock band called Griffin. And their shtick is that they're really influenced by medieval and Renaissance music and would actually play period instruments like the crumb horn and that kind of thing.
Wow.
And they have an album, their third album, Red Queen to Griffin 3, which is a musical representation of a chess game.
Red Queen.
It's real.
All right.
It's real good. I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. If you ever wonder what a crumb horn sounds like, you can listen to it and find out. Not quite bagpipes, but let's go with that. So yeah, check that out, and you can listen to it, and you can wonder what's wrong with me.
I gotta admit, Amon, I really did think you were gonna go the layman's route and reference the chess musical. I'm pleasantly surprised.
That's way too obvious. The true key to the dusty old song is to come up with some obscure crap that only hopeless music nerds like me ever even care about. One day I'm gonna recommend like Frupp or something, and people wonder, alright, I'm just gonna stop listening to this man. He's clearly making this up. There's no way this is real. And then you'll go onto YouTube or something, and it's like, holy shit, why does he know about this third-rate prog rock band from the 70s? What is wrong with him?
You mean what is right with him?
What is right with you? You're doing God's work.
I mean, if you can reference third-rate rock, like prog rock, Noah can, and Noah talks about third-rate like Croatian animation, and I talk about third-rate shitty Chinese boys love novel memes.
We've all found our niche, and we're all better for it.
It's true.
And Roots talks about puppets.
There we go.
Can we talk about like really obscure puppet shows?
What, like Pinwheel?
Maybe one day.
No. Pinwheel got an American broadcast. I'm talking about like, oh god, what was it called? It was this Slavic puppet show where the main character was just a hand that looked like a sun, and it was basically anti-Soviet propaganda.
Geez.
God,
Please.
You guys remember the puppet show that was just two eyes on fingers?
I've seen everyone's seen the Defunctland TV episode about that.
No. If you remember the title of this show, can you like send it my way? I'm intrigued now.
I'll fully admit I only know about this because Blame It on Jorge did an episode on it. But yes, I will find it for you.
Interesting. Thank you.
Oh god, this is like Megan finding about Russian Winnie the Pooh all over again.
I'm sorry,
Anyway,
please give us your plug.
I am Roots of Justice. You can find me on the twitter.com at Roots of Justice. I mainly just retweet cute animal pics, talk general fandom stuff. Right now I am playing through Animal Crossing, as probably 90% of people who own a Nintendo Switch are doing right now. I am currently in the process of attempting to write reviews for the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance, and What We Do in the Shadows. I will figure out an avenue with which to post them. And given everything going on with the world right now, I might actually sit down and do it. This is not a threat. This is going to happen. So with that, I think this episode is a wrap.
Yay.
Huzzah.
Huzzah. Can I say something before we go? Andrew, if you made it this far into the episode, I just want to say, please make sure you know where you're aiming when you're letting all your little van ships out. Good night.
That's the end of this. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Checkmate.
Oh, it could have been worse.
Good night.
That's it.
I could have made this worse, Noah. I could have brought up and how when they race, at least none of them had to listen to Vanna Pyra's commentary.
Well, you have your points, Megan. You never cease to amuse me.
Alright, so
Did
good
you
night,
just go
ladies and
yes in
gentlemen.
the background, Roots?
What?
I heard that,
don't
you just
think I
going,
did.
yes. Good night.
And one last fun fact about Last Exile before we wrap, because I forgot to bring it up in Final
Alright.
Thoughts. There was a live-action version in the works from New Line Pictures about a decade ago. Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Can
What?
you imagine if that had gotten off the ground?
Leonardo DiCaprio is Mullen.
Paul Rudd is Mullen.
Thank you.
Oh my god.
There we go.
Leo DiCaprio
Question.
as
Does he-
Alex Rowe.
Does he get does Paul Rudd get Macamede?
Well, no, he has to.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Just-
Rock on Boston, rock on Chicago.
And Otaku on Dubba.
And that's the end.
And Otaku on the
Aloha.
Dubbas.
Fly straight, Emelman. Fly straight.
And always remember, aim your van ships well.
Pleasant tailwinds, ladies and gentlemen.